episode of XenoChat. I am one of the hosts, Tyler, along with my co-host, Justin.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode.
Alright, and we have some new and old faces alike. First up, we have Mary.
Hello.
And we have Pure returning with us.
Hello, my name is Pure, and I'll be your Xeno villain for the day.
The day, more like every day.
Alright, and we have a new face joining us, and that is Brielle.
Yep, hello.
Did I say that right?
Yep, you said it perfect.
Okay, sorry. Alright, so today's episode, we're kind of talking about personal stories that impact us from the Xeno franchise. But before we go into that, we have just a little bit of our usual shtick to go through. So first up, news. We don't have too much news since we kind of went over a lot of it from the last episode. Pure, did you want to discuss something? 'Cause you had a book you're going to talk about, right?
Oh no, he's giving me the floor already. All right. So, yeah, I guess I'll talk. I don't think I've really necessarily announced this properly in the past, I guess. I definitely talked about it on Twitter in a reply to somebody. I said something like, I left a tweet saying something like, so Segura, his name is more pronounced like Segura in Japanese. That sounds really awkward when you're speaking English, so I'm gonna call him Segura. He did like some interview at Famitsu, and I left a tweet saying something like, if he had written a book about Monolith Soft, I'd believe 50% of it, I'd take 25% of it with a grain of salt, and I wouldn't believe the other 25% at all. And somebody said something like, would you ever consider writing a Xeno book? And something like that. And I just told them the truth. I was like, well, yeah, I actually have like 200 pages written already, so.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy.
Oh, man, that's amazing.
I would have to rewrite some of it, though. It was not originally written to be a book. It was more just a document where I was just writing stuff down. And I wasn't always in a good mood when I was writing it. It was originally written as something to just jot things down in like a sort of a summary whenever I saw, I don't know, something like that could be considered misinformative about Xeno, which is basically, if you look in your Twitter and you follow anyone that retweets other Xeno people, you're gonna see that every day. It's gonna, you know how that makes me feel. So that's how it started, and then it became something like I should probably make this more like something that could be released, because I was really just writing it for me, just to have it there. So then it was becoming something like that you might see released. Like, it was becoming more orderly. So yeah, 200 pages. It's not even halfway done. It's supposed to be 50 chapters, so I haven't even done half of that yet. So it's I don't know if it's going to be released necessarily as a book. It would be free when it's released. I had stopped working on it for a long time because I had a big stretch of time where at around October, something happened where I couldn't get myself to even get angry about Xeno anymore. I couldn't even get myself to care about Xeno at all, and not even like in a negative way. So it just disappeared from me. I wasn't working on anything Xeno until around Definitive Edition came out. I call it Definitive Edition and not Deluxe Edition, as I tend to do by accident. Yeah, but then that was coming out, and people were asking me stuff all over again about Xeno. I started getting back into it, and I started writing it again. I'm sure you guys have heard about the fabled Xeno project, which is completely separate from this. Started working on that again. So I'm kind of back in the rope of things again. So yeah, that's cool. As far as Xeno goes, that's kind of what I've been up to.
That is cool.
Oh,
that is really cool.
That is really cool. I really look forward to it.
Yeah,
same here.
All of us will.
I'm really curious to read that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we will definitely announce it when it's released on the podcast for sure.
Oh yeah, you guys before we got on the podcast, you guys had mentioned that you knew that Boss Fight Books is going to release a Xenogears book. I can't see in the near future. It's going to be a while. I don't think they found an author for it yet. Actually, one of the reasons why I started working on my quote book again was when I had saw that, it really hit me in that moment where if anyone, this sounds really condescending, but I can't imagine a Xeno book being written by a fan and it not having something in there that is completely like inaccurate, just something about development or something that would be like really wrong. Even the most authoritative fandom sections have this problem. So that's when I was like, oh god, I really need to stop putting this off because I don't like Xeno. I have to actually get to writing.
Well, I'm glad you fell back into Xeno, even if you're kind of have a love-hate relationship with it, or mostly hate.
Yeah, but I think it's always interesting to read your take on things. It's always cool. So,
now, is there anything else, like, news-wise? I know we covered a lot in the last episode.
Cosmos is still on standby. That's pretty much it for a figurine.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
There's a Melia figure coming apparently, but I'm like, I don't think they mentioned a date yet.
Yeah, I don't even think there's a mold of it yet either.
Yeah, it just announced that they're working on it.
It is a thing that will exist at some point.
At some point.
Yep.
Yep,
No, I did this last time. I feel like I should do it again. Do you remember how long it took to get part 1 and part 2 of the first one I was on release?
Oh, yeah.
It took forever.
I do remember that.
So,
Yeah.
remember how when I went on... I don't think that second part was released when I went on the second episode I was on. And I think I did a thing where I was thinking of things that had happened in the gap between part 1 and part 2's release.
Yes! Yeah, I remember that.
The last time I was on your podcast, I think it was February 2019. I don't think it was April. I think it was February.
It's kind of crazy to
That
think
sounds-
about that.
That sounds right. That was for
Yeah.
the Myths and Misconceptions episode, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, yeah. I remember. I remember showing that to somebody because they were like, "Oh, you were on a Xeno podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was on 2 episodes." They're like, "How did they manage getting you on that?" And I didn't feel like answering that question. I didn't want to tell them that it was my idea.
Those episodes
But
were
then
really
he saw the thumbnail, the most cursed thumbnail in history for that episode.
I'm so
even
proud of
killing
that.
characters. Oh, of course you are. So, yeah, things that have happened since February 2019, and today is July 3rd, 2020. Xenoblade Definitive Edition got announced in, September 2019?
Something like that.
Which
sounds about right.
It was September 2019. I get confused about it because I keep thinking June 2019 because I had known about it in May. So
Wow.
that I keep thinking that got announced then, but it was actually Zelda that got announced then.
Yeah.
And then that got announced in September 2019 and came out in May. Actually, funny story. I don't think this counts as a recollection, but I guess it's close enough. These are things that happened in the past that are really odd. But I got a free Switch from somebody from Monosoft,
Wow.
and
Nice.
it had Xenoblade on it. Like 3 weeks before it came out.
Oh.
That is
What?
crazy.
Nice.
The interesting part isn't that happened in itself. I can't even call it interesting. It's just frustrating. But what happened after that, when I had started playing it, was when I was about maybe like 20% into the game, because I was playing it a lot on portable mode, because I can't get myself to want to play it on my TV, because it's a Xeno game, and I just don't want to. So my actual Switch, my normal Switch, my Joy-Cons don't really work. This is like a very common thing. For some reason, Joy-Cons just don't last for more than like 2 seconds. So in the new one he gives me, which is completely fresh, it is completely, nobody's ever used it. 20% into the game, the Joy-Cons crap out on me. They just stop working. I start complaining to him, and he doesn't really know what to say. He's just like, well, it sucks to suck, bro. That's basically his response. And I couldn't get myself. I can fix it. Like the other ones I have kind of work. The ones that he gave me, just don't work anymore. Like I can't do anything with them. Like they just don't work.
That really sucks.
And I even left a tweet when I realized I can fix it. I was like, oh, I got a second Switch or something, and the Joy-Cons are fucking shit on that one too. Is something that's what the tweet said. I don't remember exactly what it said. It was something like that, and just horrible. Another thing I found out was I didn't even notice this until after I'd beaten the game. And apparently, that version of Xenoblade I have isn't the released version. It's some
it's like a pre-release build.
Yeah, it's basically the released version, but there's like some debugging that they didn't do on it. So I was noticing, I was like, wow, these menus are fucking terrible. They're buggy, and it was like the only thing about the game that was buggy. And I was like, he's like, that version is not the version that everyone else has. It's a version where like, for some reason in that version, the menus just are bad. I don't know. I guess there's one more thing I could talk about, but I don't. I was debating with myself even now. I should talk about it, especially since I'm like the only person talking, and it feels weird.
I mean, we could swap to Quinny's intro to Zeno and come back to Invisible stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, don't worry. We'll have plenty of time for story time with Pure after Queenie introduces herself.
It's really horrible. Once again, I came on thinking I'm not going to have that much to talk about, and then I come on here and
this is why you're always welcome. You have weird stuff to talk about. We like hearing it.
Yeah, it's
all of that
hear.
Poison just comes right out.
Yes. So, Brielle, would you like to go into your Xeno origin story for us?
Sure. I was introduced into Xeno back in high school in 2003 when Xenosaga came out. I had always seen Xenogears in the stores growing up, but I never got to play it until Saga. Loved Saga so much with the first episode that I went to my local used game store and immediately picked up a copy of Xenogears and fell deep in love with this series, and I've been a fan of the series since. That's really all there is to say it.
Short and sweet. I like it.
Yeah.
What's your experience with the Xenoblade series?
Xenoblade, I actually have a very mixed bag with it. The battle system is a very, very real-time action, so I've never really been a big fan of the real-time action RPGs. So it's been hit or miss. I did go ahead and play a decent bit of X, but I didn't own my own Wii at the time when Xenoblade Chronicles came out, and I just completely, honestly, I have slept on 2 because I have a very mixed bag about that one, but that's my own personal opinion.
Fair.
I've heard it's a good game, and I'm willing to give it a shot once I have a little bit more on my backlog dropped, and the price goes down to a decent.
That's totally fair.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Sure, it's me to the
Yeah.
Exactly. I will say I am envious of you seeing Xenogears all over, because I swear I could not find Xenogears at all for the longest time. I don't know what happened. I guess every store in Jersey sold out or something. Maybe all the Xeno fans just bought them. I don't know. I just could not find that game until I think it was maybe 2006-ish, where I found one of the greatest hits versions, when Square did that big reprint for all their titles. I found a copy from that.
Yeah.
And
that's how I got. Yeah, that's how I got it. Was when they did the greatest hit.
I used to see it in video stores where you could rent stuff, but aside from that, I think in my area I would see it fairly often enough. It's just I never really picked it up till after finishing Saga. So yeah.
Yeah, I find it weird that you couldn't find it though, Justin, because we actually grew up in the same area.
That's what I'm saying. I never really saw Xenogears. I remember hearing about it, but I just couldn't find it. Though then again, I did spend a few years out of the country. I was living in Europe from 2000 to 2005, so maybe that was part of the reason too. But I did come back to the country a lot, and I still would never see Xenogears.
That's just that baffles me, because I would see it at Kmart, I'd see it at Walmart,
Jeez.
I'd see it at all the local superstores all the time.
That's so weird. Saga, I saw that everywhere, and I still see Saga everywhere. But Gears, nope.
I see Saga 1 and 2 fairly frequently in like used place, but 3 is hard to find.
God.
Yes, it is.
It pops up here and there. I've seen it a few times in New York.
For a very high price, though.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I got mine. I have the same copy I got in 2006 when I picked up the pre-order.
Same.
All right. So if we don't have anything else about our troubles finding Xeno games, I guess let's go back to round 2 of story time with Pure.
Well, actually, I actually have a Xenogears story about before I had played it, saw it, knew nothing about Zeno. You know, this is pre-Xeno Pure. Very rare.
Oh man!
Wow.
Point of view. You know, people forget that a pre-Xeno Pure exists. Even though I was
innocent
like,
boy.
You know, I was in my 50s when Xenogears came out anyway. So, one day I went to go. You know, it was the 90s. It was 98. You know, back when people still rented games, and actually physically went to go rent games. You know, back when people went outside to pick up their games.
No way!
I remember the name of the place. It was Video Vault. It was in Brooklyn. It's back. I used to live in Brooklyn back then, and I had a choice between 2 games that kind of caught my eye to go rent. And they were pretty new. One of them was Xenogears. And the other one was Parasite Eve.
Oh.
So I wasn't sure which one to pick. You know, I was only going to take one. I didn't feel like renting 2 games. So, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, yeah, I think I know which one I'm going to pick. And I'm sure you guys know which one I picked.
Xenogears.
Obviously, you picked Parasite Eve.
Yep.
That would have been a correct choice.
Well, those who know my history know the answer, of course. I went and I picked up the right choice, Parasite Eve. And it actually took a little while for me to get around to Xenogears. I to this day, no regrets. At the time, maybe I wouldn't have been thinking that, but now that I've woken up to the truth of Xeno, I kind of look back at it. I was like, I'm real glad I picked Parasite Eve.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That is beautiful.
It's so strange that I could just sit here and talk about Xeno like this, and you guys just laugh. It's, there's some people that get pretty mad when I talk about Xeno like that.
But I mean, it's just funny the way you say it and stuff. And I mean, everyone have their own experience and stuff. And I mean, we're not gonna judge you for any of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm laughing to cover up how much I'm judging you inside. You're actually breaking my heart right now.
Justin, no.
My fists are really clenched right now.
Yeah.
How dare you?
It's like that picture of the dude crying with like the laughing mask.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god. Yeah. So, who's next?
I was actually gonna say I kind of can relate with not picking up Xenogears when it came out, because when I first saw it, I honestly was just like, I just thought it was just going to be some corny Asian guy like simulated RPG. I had no idea what I was going to be in for.
Oh, it's not entirely off. I mean, Krellian's whole thing. I mean, if he wasn't horny on main, none of this would have happened.
That's fair. I was a kid when Gears came out, so for me, I was just like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. I hardly was able to get through most of Final Fantasy 7 and 6, so I don't know if I can get into another Square game yet right away. I'm still going through Chrono Trigger and 4, so I don't know if I want to deal with another one. This one looks like anime.
It's anime, no.
The irony is how many people say that Xenogears is an anime.
I was a kid, and I had a very not anime friendly family, so I tried to avoid a lot of the anime stuff just to keep them off my back, just to keep them from picking on me.
Yeah.
I don't care anymore.
Oh, that's so sad.
That is sad indeed.
Yeah.
You know, Justin.
Maybe stronger.
It's weird that you say there's some people that would say, well, Xenogears is an anime, or does it look anime? Because I try to picture a scenario where someone's like sitting in their room, you know, it's maybe in the mid-2000s, they're playing it after release, and, you know, maybe like a family member walks in or a friend walks in, they're like, oh, what are you playing there? And he's just like, oh, I'm playing my favorite Western RPG. Like, you just fool them into thinking that. Like, just good and bored.
Just saying, yeah, I'm playing the new Fallout.
Yeah, this is it.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, I remember the first time I actually experienced Xenogears was on the demo disc that came with Parasite Eve, right? Or
Yeah, I think it was Parasite. I think.
yeah,
Might have
I
been,
think.
yeah.
I just stared at
Yeah.
it multiple times when I went to rent out games because I would go often, but I never picked it up till later.
I miss those old Squaresoft demo discs. Like, that's actually how I found out about FF7. My brother and I, we rented Toe Ball #1 back in the day.
Yeah.
And then it had an FF7 demo disc. And then I remember we played it, and we weren't really into RPGs at that point. And then I remember playing it, watching my brother play it for like 10 minutes, and then him just being like, this is stupid. He turned it off.
Dude, I have a Wild Arms 2 demo. It's still in the sleeve, still in the shrink wrap.
Oh, wow.
Never played it in my life. I got it in the mail. It was part of some, I don't know, PlayStation magazine or something. They just gave it to you, and I've never played it. It's just still sitting there today, along with Earthbound and the shrink wrap. Another game I got when it was new.
Oh, yeah, you
and never
told
played
us
it.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, yep, still there. Still haven't played it since that podcast.
Jeez.
Wow.
I mean, at this point, you may as well keep it sealed for how much that goes for these days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
imagine holding off on playing a game for so long that it's like, oh, this is so valuable now because it's sealed. It's been 20-something years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched somebody go ahead and get a copy of that game for $800 with the strategy guide, and the box was opened only once.
That is insane.
How do you, like, track that? I've only opened a box once. Is like, do you just buy the game, open, and be like, alright, I'm good, and then just, like, close it and throw it in your closet?
Apparently, I think that the owner said that they played the game, didn't open the strategy guide at all, so the strategy guide was still sealed, and then put it right back in the box, and never touched it again. I think they got a regular copy, but they kept the special edition on the side, knowing that one day it would be valuable.
Jeez.
Good old Magfest.
The convention
It's
seems
so
cool.
weird.
But yeah.
Alright, any other, or well, who wants to say their next Xeno personal story?
I guess, like, Saga, I guess talk about, like, the first time I played Saga. I'd always heard about Xenosaga. I also heard all sorts of weird rumors about Saga at the time. Like, I remember hearing that Saga was technically a Xenogears prequel, because that was, like, the popular freaking theory to spread at the time. But when I eventually got a copy of it, I think I got it through GameStop, and it was a used copy. And then I came home, and I put the disc in. Game was cool. And then I got to the first battle. I was like, all right, I'm into this. This is kind of neat. And then, like, the game would just kept on freezing. And every time I would get to that one battle, the game would freeze.
Oh, no.
So, yeah. And what's really weird is I ended up getting another copy later on. And if I load a save file past that first battle, it will play perfectly. It's just that one battle that for some reason the disc, I guess that sector of the disc is messed up or corrupted.
Yeah.
So it just refuses to load there. And something that I've been meaning to do, and I never actually did it, was I actually want to, like, take that disc and just, like, put it in, like, a geocache or something and just, like, hide it somewhere. Just send somebody on a quest to go find a broken Xenosaga Episode 1.
Nice.
But yeah, it sucks when a game does that, though. Like, you get to avoid it in the game and just start to freeze because the disc is messed up. That's always frustrating.
It is always weird, and I like keep it now because every time I look at that disc, every time I think of Saga 1, I think about that disc that just like refused to work. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what happened with that disc.
Yeah.
It's one of the weirdest things.
I do have a Xenosaga story about when I first played it.
Oh, go ahead.
Go for it.
This will completely ruin my image of people thinking I know everything was because back when I actually first played these games, I didn't care about Monosoft whatsoever. I did not even think twice about them. That wasn't a thing until the 2010s, the early part of the 2010s. But with the first Xenosaga, when you go into a shop, there's different tabs in the shops, and you can kind of buy armor in one spot and stuff like that.
Yep. Well,
the first time I played, I assumed that Cosmos wasn't able to have her armor purchased at all, because it just, I guess I was just thinking about it from a lore end, and I was like, this would never happen. You would never buy armor for the special robot. It would never happen. So the entire time I'm playing, I'm thinking, and I'm going through it, most of the characters are really overpowered for some reason, except for Cosmos. She hits hard, but she's taking so much damage, and I'm thinking, wow, I can't believe she's so fragile. I'm talking to my friend wow, why is Cosmos so fragile? Is that like a canon thing? Is she just not able to take a hit? And she was like, that's not right at all. It's did you buy other armor? What what's going on here? And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, you could buy armor for Cosmos? I'm almost done with the game. I'm 80% of the game. I think I'm close to Song of Nephilim, which is really awesome. And I'm just and at that moment I'm thinking, you can buy armor for Cosmos? So I was like, that's a thing? Oh, all right. And then I was like, I got the armor. I'm like, I guess this is why everybody uses this character. I was like, she's really strong. And I'm just like, all right, I might have felt slightly stupid after that. So, yeah.
Oh.
Those are always the best when you discover a mechanic way too late into a game.
Yeah, and then it would turn out that the next game would have no fucking shops. So apparently,
right?
Someone, just so cursed that happened after that experience.
That's so funny. Even though it's not Xeno related, I actually have a very similar story that happened recently with Final Fantasy VII Remake. So I am playing that game, and I'm enjoying it. I'm like, all right, this game's kind of fun, cool, and I went up to, I think I was 27 hours into the game, and I finally realized that I can actually pick higher level magic. So I've been using just level 1 fire, level 1 ice, the entire game, and 26 hours into it, I was like, wait a second, if I press this, I can select Firaga or Fyra, and then I can actually use a higher level cure. and I was just like, oh my goodness, I've been playing this game all wrong this whole time. And the messed up part about it is I wasn't having that much trouble with the game. There was maybe 1 or 2 bosses that were kind of tricky, but I was having a pretty easy time while just using the level 1 magic.
Oh. That sounds awful.
It is.
Yeah. And then once I figured that out, then the rest of the game was a breeze. But I'm just like, how did I not realize this for so long?
Yeah, it can definitely happen sometimes. Some games, oh my god.
I can relate because with Xenoblade for the longest time, I didn't know you could gift items between party members to raise affinity. So I would the only way I would raise affinity is doing quests and fights, and I was like, wow, this takes a long time.
Yeah.
That reminds me of my first experience with Xenosaga. I did not understand the boost mechanic at all, and enemies would kill me left and right, and I would get so upset that I would just I would turn the game off for hours on end, and then pick it back up and still not understand the boost mechanic. I didn't understand it until my second playthrough.
Oh no. I think I can't quite recall the first time I played Xenosaga 1, how I reacted to it, but I think I had a bit of trouble to understand the mechanic at first because, since I had not played Xenogears before, it was really different than all the other turn-based RPG I had played, so I think it took me a while to grasp the system as well, a little bit. But yeah, can't recall further than that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. There's one, another fun Xeno story where, like, I guess this is me discovering a mechanic, or I guess it's a bug that made me enjoy the game more. So in Xenoblade 2, I recently discovered that you can attack cancel by moving. And it's like one of the stupidest, most broken mechanics in the game. Cause like for a long time I played Xenoblade 2 and I kind of didn't like the fact that you couldn't attack and move at the same time. And then I found out that like, if you're Morag, for example, and use like the long swords, it has like a really slow cycle. But if you like just gently tap the stick after she swings it, she'll immediately reset the animation and do another attack very quickly. So if you just like keep tapping the stick in rhythm, you could just do a crap ton of damage in like no time and just fill up your arts in like almost instantly.
That's crazy.
And that like, once I found that out, that was just like a game changer. Like, the game just started becoming stupid at that point, because now it's just like, well, nothing in this game can kill me anymore.
That's great.
That is crazy.
And then another, I'll just tell one more, then you can go. Another fun Xenoblade 2 story. I know I've told this on a podcast before, but like, there's a story of how I got Cosmos in that game, where I was playing Xenoblade 2, and I honestly didn't really enjoy it for the first, like, I want to say maybe 10 hours or so. I didn't really care for the game a whole lot. And then I got to, I think it's end of chapter 3, where you get Mithra. And you have like those fights right beforehand. And I remember once we got to the cutscene with Mithra, my Switch crashed in the middle of that cutscene. And I was pissed. I turned the game off. I stopped playing it for a good, like, week and a half, maybe. And, like, yeah. And I was like, I am not playing this game. I am done. I cannot do this. And I was pissed about this. I was, like, complaining to my friends, like, yeah, this game sucks. Don't bother. And then, after the update came out, I was playing the game. I was like, all right, fine. Maybe I'll give it another shot. And then the first crystal I opened is Cosmos.
I tried to say, like, sorry.
So
yeah.
You saw the light for a moment. Yeah. Cosmos ruined it. All right. Cursed character? I was going to say, I did have a story that I know is gonna upset you, Justin.
Oh, boy.
Really
I'm bracing myself right now.
So, I think this had to be last year, 2019. I can't imagine this was 2 years ago. It had to be last year. So I was taking a Lyft, or a Lyft is in, the alternative Uber service.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going from New York, I'm going to Jersey.
Oh boy.
And so nothing out of the ordinary. I'm going to see my friend, he's, he works at a independent pro wrestling area, so I'm just going to see one of the shows, and I'm waiting for the guy to come. He comes. I get in the car. I'm not really paying attention to like the guy in the car, and I sit down and he starts talking, and I kind of look to my left, and I kind of see he's like I couldn't sit in the back seat as he normally would. He had shit in the back. I had to sit in the passenger seat. So I'm sitting basically right next to him, and it turns out that this guy looks and sounds exactly like Justin.
Oh my god.
He's from
What?
Jersey. And he says he says, oh yeah, I had to go up here anyway. I live in Jersey. And I'm just like, what? Like I'm thinking, oh shit, like this might be Justin. But I didn't want to straight up say it. And so I looked at my phone and I'm looking at the guy. No, before it even happened, I wanted to throw. So I'm weighing my options as to maybe. I'm a very private person. I don't talk about my personal life or anything. So I didn't want to just say, "Oh, it's me. It's pure." I didn't want to immediately say that, and then this guy has no idea who the fuck I am. He's like, who's this guy? He thinks I'm fucking crazy. So I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking, like, what do I do to maybe let him know, maybe if it is Justin, that it's me, without being too weird. So I'm sitting here and I'm just like, all right, Zeno is the one thing we really have in common, which is really horrible when you think about it. So I'm thinking, if I say Zeno and it's not Justin, well, if it's Justin, that's fine. But if it's not him, I'm thinking, like, in the back of my head, what if there's like a 0.1% chance it's not Justin, but he's a Xeno fan, and he starts talking to me about Xeno, and it's not Justin. And by the time I'm thinking about this, we're like about to hit the bridge. You know, we're on like the highway, we're on like highways and bridges. I can't, like, if this happens to be true, if he happens to be a Xeno fan and he's not Justin, I'm thinking, I can't, he's going to talk to me about for Xeno for like an hour. I'm going to be stuck here. I can't, I can't get out of the car because we're on the highway. I can't just leave and say, oh, I got to stop here. I can't, nothing. I'm stuck. I'm stuck at a bridge for like an hour. And I don't want to stop in Jersey when we get off the bridge. You know, that's like weird. I don't know Jersey that well. So I'm kind of like trying to weigh that option out because that's like worse than any. I would rather pay an extra $100 to not talk about Xeno for an hour in a car with someone I don't know. So, you know, I'm thinking, I'm like, well, I was like, wait a minute, I should just look at my phone. His name should be on the thing. His name wasn't Justin, so I was like, all right, we're not gonna. He was talking about something else that was also mildly unpleasant. So, you know, it wasn't as bad as Xeno, but it was, you know, it was probably the worst Uber ride ever. He also left me at the wrong spot, and I was like, this isn't the spot, dude.
Oh, no.
Like it was not, you know, it was yeah, a cursed ride. Everything about Justin's doppelganger really trying to screw me over there.
Oh my god.
Wow, I guess now I know that there is a clone of me out there giving people rides.
Sounds like a doppelganger, alright.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Oh my god. But yeah, also, Justin, you mentioned how your game crashed in your Mitra section of the game. Mine crashed at the ending.
Mine did too, actually. So, mine crashed. Okay, so not only did mine crash in the end, it crashed after the credits. So, like, the credits rolled, and, like, you save, and then, like, there's, like, a fade to black, and it just stayed there.
Oh, no.
Oh.
And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, is this like an old, like, Super Nintendo game where you gotta, like, reset the console?
Yeah, it's like an old game, it just ends there. You just gotta reset.
What is going on here? And I ended up closing it. I think I left it on for a while, and I ended up closing it. And then, thankfully, like, it saved my game anyways, but, like, that was just the weirdest
Oh my
thing.
god. Like, mine basically started to slow down in I think the last cinematic, and, like, it was basically dropping in frame drastically, and eventually just froze. And it just stayed there, just like, no! I think I stopped touching the game for, like, a few days, because I was so mad. Because the boss took me a while to kill, and I was just like, But yeah, I eventually came back to it, it was fine, but I think I found out it was like something to do with like if you play the game for a very long time before that stuff and it ran for a long time, it had the chance of like, I don't know, slowing down or something, or maybe crashing. So I did play the game.
Yeah, I heard it was
the
a memory
whole
leak
day,
issue.
So it did not help, I guess. I think the Switch said like, no, you had enough, bye. But yeah, it sucks when it happens.
That's so funny.
I think a lot of people actually had a crash at the ending. It's kind of weird.
Mine didn't crash that much. I mean, it crashed like maybe 2 or 3 times, but they weren't at like important moments or anything. It was just during games.
I think in my case
The
it
worst
was
part was
because
just-
I was playing like very long sessions, so maybe at some point, like, I don't know, maybe the game was just like, nope, too much. I don't know.
Yeah, even the Nintendo Switch doesn't like Xeno. No, for me, the worst part wasn't even the crashes, because I saved often enough, but it was like, oh no, I have to play an extra half hour of Xeno because it crashed.
Yeah.
And that was probably the most disheartening part for me.
I say really often too, but like the fact that it was like in like the cinematic after the last boss, it took me a while to kill. I was just so pissed.
Yeah, that's disheartening.
I mean, the game had kind of a rocky production because of like the schedule and stuff. So
Yeah.
that was a result of that.
No, it's okay. I feel like they fixed it afterwards though, because I did get any other crashes later on. Even if I was still playing hardcore, the side quests and all the side stuff.
I remember there was... Oh, go on.
This I was going to say this is the first podcast I've been on since I finished Torna, because I remember I held it up for months because
That's right.
I think that was around like either after or still like the tail end of my peak. Wow, Xeno really makes me angry phase. It was worse like a year ago. So it took me a while to actually sit down and be like, all right, fine, I'll play Torna. Like I didn't even know what happened or anything. I don't spoil myself in these games, so I didn't actually play it until like April 2019 or something like that. So it's weird to think that this is the first time I'm here after playing that.
Yeah, honestly, it's crazy to think that it's been this long.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's been that long, but time really flies. Like, actually, here's a story from apparently now 5 years ago, since time flies. So 5 years ago, I was at Anime Next, and I had paid. Honestly, you might have. So who was I? I was cosplaying as Gintoki from Gintama at that time, and I also had someone I knew. He commissioned. I commissioned a Minato, so he made me one. It was like this foam Minato. I still have it. It looks pretty cool, and I was carrying it around the convention as like Gintoki because I was like, oh, that'd be kind of funny if Gintoki is wielding the Minato, and people liked it, but like. I learned that carrying a Minato in a convention is like the dumbest decision you can ever make. Do you not like the amount of people who will walk up to you and say like dumb stuff is like insane. Like,
yeah.
Oh my goodness. I had so many people as I'm walking around the convention just being like, huh, I'm really feeling it. This one time, this one guy came up to me. He just like, did you play Xenoblade? I'm like, no, I didn't play it. Oh my goodness.
See your Xenoblade card or something.
Yeah, he's like, did you play Xenoblade Chronicles? Like, okay.
Man, I would have taken advantage of the situation and been like, nope, never played it. Sorry.
What's a Xenoblade?
Yeah, don't know.
What's a Xenoblade?
I don't know where this sword comes from. I'm just gonna hide it behind my back and never saw it. It's hilarious though. But yeah, the memes of Xenoblade 1 were and are still pretty strong in convention, I feel like. Or at least if there was still convention, I feel like if anyone would see the Monado, they would still go and say I'm really feeling it or something like that.
Yeah, my friend, I know he does it intentionally because I think he thinks it's gonna like piss me off, but it doesn't because I think it's funny. He refuses to refer to You Will Know Our Names as a Xeno song. He only calls it that song from Smash Bros.
Oh my god, come on.
I thought you were gonna go like really old school latest on me and just say, oh, that song from Minato.
Minato, beginning of the world.
But yeah, it's like really funny. He'll be like, I was sending him some of the arranged soundtrack from the new one, and then he's just like, I like the original version of that song from Smash better.
Yeah, man, Shulk from Nintendo.
Shulk from Nintendo.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, there was the advertising point for the 3DS version of that game was like discover Shulk's origins and Xenoblade 3DS or whatever. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like it did help like Zeno get a bit more like people to play them, but it's just like oof.
I actually have a story about Shulk and Smash that's pretty interesting.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
This was around the time. This was before Definitive Edition was out, but when I knew about it, so we had a discussion about things that have leaked in the past, and one of the things that came up was Shulk and Smash because that got leaked before it was announced.
Right.
There was literally footage of him, like some guy.
Yeah, it was the ESRB footage, wasn't it?
Exactly. It was somebody that worked for ESRB, and it was really shitty quality footage. It was so shitty.
I remember that video.
Yeah, I remember, and I think I have the video still. I like downloaded it, and So it was still low quality. Some people thought it was fake. Really like elaborate fake leak. So me and there's a few people from the company I talked to, but the one I talked to the most was the one that is willing to take a really bad joke. He's the one that I could tell, like, hey, Zeno sucks, right? Like, and he'll just go along with it. So I asked him, like, I was like, hey, you remember that leak when Schultz got leaked by in the Smash? It was in, like, I think it was the month he was announced. I think it was the same month, and I asked him, I was like, I wonder what happened to that guy, because I think they knew who it was at some point. And he responded, he was like, it's like, I'm pretty sure it was somebody from like South America or something. And he's like, I'm pretty sure I'm like, he's like very certain that the higher ups in Nintendo like knew who it was eventually. And he said, and I asked him, I was like, what do you think happened after that? And he's just like, I'm pretty sure that guy doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh. That's kind of crazy, yeah.
Well, I guess I have a story for Xenosaga. So, let's see. Episode 1 came out when I was in middle school, but 2 and 3 came out when I was in high school. I was very, very obsessed. Shocker. But I was kind of obsessed to the extent that my friends, like, would dog on Xenosaga because of how obsessed I was. I mean, there was one time where I had a friend over, and I was showing him Xenosaga Episode 1, and he fell asleep during one of the cutscenes. I remember exactly which cutscene it was too. It was one of the longer ones. But anyway, right before Episode 3 came out, that same friend basically mocked up a website saying that Xenosaga Episode 3 was canceled. And
I remember this website.
Well, no, he didn't like.
What am I thinking of?
No, he didn't like publish it or anything like that. He just made a fake website.
Well, there was another person who actually did that, and it was pissing a lot of the fandom off.
What?
I don't think that was him, but yeah, he like printed out a copy of the website because I had dial-up back then, and I wasn't gonna go to that website, so he just printed out a copy of it, and it was like, oh, Xenosaga Episode 3 is canceled, and I remember just tearing it. Print out to shreds and just throwing it away. But
it's kind of crazy that someone did this though.
Yeah, but some of those same friends are like into Xenoblade now, and I'm like, what the hell? I don't know.
But yeah, back then I was not super within the community. Like, I kind of started following some community later, but I kind of appeared and then disappeared, and now I'm with XenoChat, and that's pretty much it. But yeah.
Yeah, I was never really a part of a community either before XenoChat. I just kind of played the games and hid in my own little corner.
Pretty much same here.
Same here, actually.
But it's cool that we now have people to talk about it together, because I mean that there is still quite a few people that may have played the game, but sometimes it's harder to know who played them and who didn't, because often they're more quiet about it. It's just a bit hard to find Xeno fans sometimes. Or at least Xeno fans that aren't like, let's just say that aren't like too immature and weird sometimes.
Completely insane.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
And incredibly dishonest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to find Xeno fans to talk about that have played the games, let alone that haven't played the games.
Yeah, I had actually been part of several Xeno communities when I was in middle school and high school, or well, forums for the most part. So that was some really good times. That I met some friends. I'm still friends with some of them, like Kat and Aaron.
Yeah.
I've been friends with them for like over a decade now, and I met them on forums.
Yeah,
so
back then
it's really special experience.
I saw you guys back then on Godsip, but like I never really fully connected back then. So and eventually it disappeared because I was also on another forum of something else at the same time, and my attention span is really short sometimes with these things. So it's like if I put my attention to one of them, then I kind of lose track of the other one. And there we go. But yeah, I'm kind of glad though that we reconnected later through the Mira chat and eventually just came all together at the XenoChat because that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Like you guys said, I was also a very quiet fan. A lot of friends didn't know I played the game. Very few people did, and never really got into any communities until probably late 20s. And that was through Xeno Underground, which I believe was ran by Cat?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That, and I tried going ahead and doing some stuff there, but it was also very slow, so I ended up just falling out of it until discovering Mira, since me and them basically mutually followed each other on social media.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. We all connected through Mira and then just did our own little group.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of...
So, does anybody have, like, stories of getting people into these Xeno games?
I do.
Go ahead first.
My hands are clean. I don't have a story like that, so I'm innocent here. You guys can confess now.
Confess our sins.
We can confess our conversion of people we know to our religion.
Yeah.
Yes, my husband. We had just recently moved in together. We weren't married yet, and I really wanted to replay the games, but I couldn't be asked to go ahead and dig up my copies of the game and my PS2 out of my just recently moving bag. So I just took my laptop, hooked it up to the TV with an HDMI port, and I was like, "Oh, I have all three movies games of Xenosaga in movie format on my hard drive, just saved." And I didn't have internet yet. I had to wait for internet for another, 2 or 3 days. Midwest. Sucks. Don't move there. At least South Dakota. Anyway, so we go ahead and we're just winding down for the night, and I'm like, I want to watch this, and he's like, okay. So I put it on, and he's like, ooh, is this like this sci-fi thing you keep talking about? I was like, yeah. He was like, is this the space lesbians? And I just sighed, and I was like, I guess you could call it that. But I was like, anyway, come on, watch it with me. Because he had just gotten me to watch him play all of Dark Souls and got me into that lore. So I was like, I'm going to go ahead and drag you into the Xeno lore now, since I know he's a sucker for story. So I do this, and we're watching it. The first, hour or so with Shion and Cosmos, fell asleep. The second Ziggy came up, he had his attention just completely sucked in, so he was like, damn it, now I gotta actually go back and watch it. So then we went back and watched it, and we ended up watching all 3 games, movie format within the week. And then he asked me to start actually playing it, and we still need to finish the first game. Because we were about halfway through, but his computer got corrupted, so we lost the save data.
Oh no.
Oh.
Yeah, it happens.
That's still impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. Trying to get him to watch Xenogears, which is... He tried to be like, oh, how many hours do I have to read? No, I'm not doing that. So he tried watching a 50-minute condensing the entire story and had a massive headache to the point that he's still having a hard time wanting to even watch this game.
Yeah, Xenogears has a lot of minds.
You don't want to try... It's like, why would you try and condense it to 50 minutes?
It's impossible.
That's not exactly how his brain was mush.
like shredded Jello brain.
Basically.
Oh my god.
So, I got a fun story of getting somebody into Xeno, even though I guess I wasn't technically the one to do it. So, back in college, I had a roommate, and he was into JRPGs. And I had played Saga by that point, and also Gears, and I was really excited for Xenoblade. And then Xenoblade came out, I played it, and I was talking about it all summer to him, and then he heard it from somebody else that was also playing it too, and he's just like, man, I really need to check this game out. And I was also telling him, I was like, yeah, you also gotta try out Saga and Gears. I'm like, you'd really like it. And I've been telling him this for a long time, and he never did. But he did play Blade, he liked it, and then later on, he ended up dating someone who also happened to like Saga. And then he finally started playing Saga. And I was like, okay, great. So because she said it, now you're going to start playing it finally? And then, but that's not the kicker. So he liked the games, but when he got to Saga 3, I remember telling him that Ziggy's a really funny character in that game. And he unlocked the choke move for Ziggy.
Yes.
And we all know how we all love the choke move.
Oh, I love
so
that.
He was obsessed with Ziggy's choke. So every time he would use it on somebody, he loved the animation so much because it's such a jank and funny animation. So every time he would do it, he would take a picture and he would save it. He literally had a Ziggy choke folder of every time he used it in the game.
What?
Wow, that must have been a lot.
Yeah. And he would send me pictures of it.
Wow.
That is incredible. That's dedication.
That is that is dedication.
Oh my god. Yeah.
I don't have a lot of success of converting people to Xenosaga, but in high school I did loan out my copy a few times, but whenever I loaned it out, I had to have people sign a contract that I wrote out for them to, keep it safe. I was very child. Of course, they never beat it whenever I did that.
Yeah, in my case, I did manage to get more than one person into Xeno. I think one of the first one I got into Xeno was one of my besties from here. She was already very much into JRPGs, and eventually I started talking about it, and I landed my copies of Xenosaga, and she actually really liked it, but she never finished 3 because she was like, it's too sad, and she dropped it, and she's like, no! But, I mean, she did get far, so it's at least that. She did enjoy the characters and stuff, so it was personal victory on that. But the most recent one, though, would be most likely Nick.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, because Nick pretty much started because of me, I believe. And I think he had heard a bit from other people in the past, but never really got into it because the person was a bit more obnoxious about it or something, and he was like, eh. But yeah, I think he started Blade mostly because I did talk about it, but also because he saw a bit more about Shulk and stuff like that, and he was curious. And by the time he continued following the Xenoblade stuff, and by the time Xenoblade 2 came out, we actually played the game pretty much at the same pace, and were exchanging our ideas about the game and etc. It was really cool. And just after that, he played Xenogears, and now currently he's playing Xenosaga. He's nearly at the end. We had a thing going on our server being not safe for Nick.
Not safe for Nick. Not safe for work.
We had an email just for him whenever we were talking about Xenosaga spoilers. But yeah, soon everything will be safe for Nick. He will soon be completely converted to Xeno, as in he would have played everything. But yeah, it's been really cool to be able to get someone this much into it and get him to join XenoChat as well. It's really cool. But yeah, I know multiple other friends who do have the copies in their library and did play, but a lot of them are more like quiet, like it's part of their library thing, but they're not like fan to the point of like going out of their way to connect with people about them. So it's more like casual love, like, oh yeah, I enjoyed that game kind of thing, but that's all there is. But a lot of them did not really play the Xenoblades yet, either because they don't have a Switch or other reasons. But yeah, like for example, my first friend that I did initialize to Xenosaga, she tried Xenoblade 1, but it was apparently giving her motion sickness or something with the camera, and she was like, no, I can't play this, like, I kind of feel sick after playing for X amount of time. I thought it was a bit weird, but, I mean, it kind of happens sometimes with some games, with some people. Just was sad, because I was like, Xenoblade is good too, it's sad.
I mean, a little off topic, but I understand the whole not being able to play a game. I can't play Phantasy Star 4. I can never actually beat that game because the final dungeon gives me a physical headache with the eye strain and the flashing images constantly throughout the dungeon. So I'm like, well,
yeah, I can kind of understand too, because actually the old school Final Fantasy IV was like giving me a headache after 2 hours of playing, and I was just like, okay, I guess I can't play this.
Oh, Final Fantasy! I said Phantasy Star 4.
Yeah, I know, but
yeah.
I was just referring like how like I remember
4.
Final Fantasy IV giving me like a similar problem, but I don't know what was causing it, but I guess maybe the flashes between the screen loads. But yeah, it sucks when it happens. Can't play a game because of some effect creating something.
Especially when you enjoy it. That's the worst part.
Yeah, that was a story about getting people to Xenoblade. Although I always try to spread the word whenever I can, without being too pushy, but just to say, hey, you should maybe try this if you like this type of game. You know, just sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
I'm the same way, mainly because, for me, Zeno is about the story. I really enjoy the story, the narrative, the characters, and the amount of pacing. Some of them, the pacing isn't the best, but, it's a decent place to start, especially when you're trying to figure out how to do, decent world building and whatnot. So I try to go ahead and push friends who I know want to do, like, sci-fi epics, like the thing I'm working on right now, to play the game at least once, or at least even just watch it, just to get some, like, ideas of, this is a good example of how you do introduce a world, like, and whatnot, instead of just, like, having it all over the place.
Yeah. I've been liking a lot how, the games of Monolith have been introducing, like, characters or just introducing a world and stuff. Like, it's always the thing that kind of draws me to their games. Like, it's always well written and stuff. I like it.
Alright, well, I, hearing all these stories just reminded me that technically, my hands aren't clean.
Oh.
Do tell.
I almost committed an atrocity.
Oh, really?
Oh boy.
Yeah, our interest.
Yeah, I almost got somebody to play the original Xenoblade once. This is like just before I would say, no, don't do that. This is in that weird time period in the middle. And, what was happening was that we were playing Smash. We played Smash all the time. Somebody's playing Breath of the Wild.
That was actually my phone.
Oh, okay. Wow. I'm glad I noticed the sound, though. It was very... As soon as it just sounded like somebody had, like, their Switch or their Wii U out. I was like, oh,
yeah, that's my notification tone. It's the Sheikah Slate.
So, we used to play Smash all the time. This is Smash 4, so this is around 2014, 2015. I think it was probably more 2014 when this happened. And I used to always destroy this guy with Shulk. This is like literal videos. It was streamed all the time, and I used to tell him like in more of like a teasing way. You should play Xenoblade. Maybe you'd like it. He likes RPGs, and he said he would never play Xenoblade because he hates Shulk. Because I would always destroy him with Shulk every time, and he would never play it. And what a blessing in disguise that was! I'm so glad he never played it. He would have hated it. Now that I know. So I maybe my hands aren't dirty, but they're quite committed to the act.
You intentionally played Shulk so he would hate Xenoblade.
Yeah, and Shulk was my main, so I guess even in according to Kerr, or some people know him as Mecha MK2, according to him, even in Smash, my quote love for Zeno shines through. So yeah, sure. I guess I do have a weird one. You guys could maybe follow up with. I know you guys did like a meetup at some point.
Oh yeah, we did pretty recently. Well, before the plague happened.
Right before the end of the world.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I had my own meetup in November. Justin almost would have made it.
I was there too.
Yeah,
I know. I was as well.
It just did not align with my schedule, unfortunately.
Yeah, I had to go on like an earlier day in the week. So this, I guess we'll call it the Xeno server meetup, but it's my Xeno server.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically closed off in the rest of the Xeno fandom because I am terrified of inviting people and then just getting really angry at them. So to save them, I don't have it open to just random invites.
Totally fair.
That's fair.
Yes.
Totally
I mean,
fair.
there's so many people out there that sometimes aren't really reasonable, so it's understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even worse is the server is rarely ever named anything relevant to Xeno. That's the server that's named Dragon Quest Fan Club right now. Even though I haven't made any post about Dragon Quest in there, like aside from like trolling her about it.
I do like Dragon Quest XI though. It's such a good game.
I'm actually playing my first Dragon Quest game ever. Like, I just started this week.
Nice.
Oh,
I've been playing the first one. The first Dragon
Wow.
Quest is the one I'm playing.
nice.
Feels every bit like a game from 1986. It makes Final Fantasy 1 look cutting edge.
So, which version are you playing of that?
Super Nintendo version. And yeah, I know it probably came out in like the 90s, but it still feels like a game from 86, even that version. Like, it seems like they changed very little.
Yeah.
The messed up part about that game is that, like, the original NES version is the improved version in comparison to the Japanese one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know there's some differences. I was going to play it in just straight up in Japanese, because I actually have the card for it, but it was like 3 a.m. when I started, and I was like, I really don't feel like reading Japanese. I can't.
It's totally.
Yeah. But yeah, you were talking about your meetup.
Yeah, the meetup that you did.
Oh, yeah. So, this was something that, it wasn't necessarily my idea. I'm trying to remember who came up with it first. It might have been Fees or something. Because he had like a group of his friends going to meet up in New York. And he was like, you should come. You live in New York. You should come. Like, and at first I was like, wow, I really don't want to meet up with a bunch of Xeno fans in person. Like, it's bad enough online. I can't even like fathom it in person. Like, it just sounds like the worst scenario. It sounds like something in my nightmares. But eventually I caved because they're good friends of mine, and I was like, you know what, I'll go. It'd be kind of a dick move to not to go when I live in the same state. So they were eating at some pizza restaurant, and I was like, yeah, I'll meet you there, whatever. I came a little bit late. They already ordered my food for me, so I went there, and they said they knew it was me as soon as I walked in, because I had a very villain-esque presence when I walked in. Apparently they were guessing like which one is pure every time someone walked into the fucking place. They probably thought they were crazy. And when I walked in and I walked up to them, they just were like, "That's him." Like, there's no way that's not him. Like, he said he had like a very Ganondorf presence to him. That's like the comparison they always make. He's Ganondorf. That's what they all say. So, I stood there and, I sat down. So my chair at this meetup, it's like this big round table. And mine is right in the middle. I'm right in the middle of all these Xeno fans. And, so the thing is, it's kind of like what we're doing here. I'm sitting down, and we're not talking about Xeno too much, because the Xeno fandoms vary and agree with those people. Some of them aren't like big fans, more casual fans, and played all the games. One of them doesn't really care about it at all, but he and I actually worked on a translation, that Xenogears translation that came out like back in November.
Mm.
The fan comic, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not even sure if fan comic's the right word, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what it's called. I literally worked on it. I don't even remember what it's called anymore, because I love to blot these things out of my memory. So, yeah. So, I'm sitting here, and I'm talking about Xeno, and at certain points I'm trashing it in person. And I'm doing it to get a reaction out of these people. I'm not doing this to be funny. And they're cheering me on in the middle of this place. And not even, like, lowly. Like, people hear this shit. And they're, like, really into this. And I'm like, no, it sucks. Xeno sucks. And they're, like, so into this. Like, I'm so bothered by the fact that they like it. Like, this was not the intended effect. And then some of them started going along with it. They're like, you know what, maybe Xeno isn't that good. And I'm like, no. Like, I literally turned around and was like, no. The only thing worse than somebody that likes Xeno is a poser that pretends Xeno's not good. And even though they think otherwise. Like, I was, there's no way I could win here. It was a lose-lose scenario. I knew I made a mistake as soon as I walked in.
It sounds like that episode of Simpsons where they're in the classroom, they turn to Bart and go, say the line, Bart!
Xeno sucks.
The thing is I notice I have a trend when people start to say they don't like Xeno, I get very defensive about Xeno suddenly, as if I were a fan. Because usually when people say they don't like Xeno, or they start talking shit about it, or a certain game, or they'll say like, oh, this one game's better than the other game, or some horse shit.
Oh my God.
Then I'm like, you're... The thing is, every time they do that, they dislike the best parts of the game. And I'm like, no, those are the good parts. What are you doing? Like... You can't even shit on Xeno right. The Xeno fandom can't even shit on their own games right. It's hard.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong indeed.
So, but then when we got up and we were going to go, we went to Nintendo New York, which even though I live in New York, I've never been there, which was weird. It was my first time there. After all these years of living, in New York. And when I'm leaving, I look back at the table and I notice like the shape of it and where I was sitting and the way I was talking and the way people were sitting next to me. And then I realized, like, because people definitely noticed that we were, bullshitting or whatever, and they definitely noticed the way I was sitting. And it really hit me. It was probably the most Xeno thing ever in real life. That table and the way I was talking and the way I was sitting in the middle looked just like the Last Supper.
Oh, they definitely did it on purpose.
And yeah, so just imagine me like just shitting on Xeno, but it looks like the Last Supper. And my apostles are like super into it. That actually love Xeno. They're just like, oh, say more. Like, oh, this is so great.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So yeah, and then there was one guy that was like, I like. He was saying so. He was trying to get a reaction out of me. I think he was just like, oh, well, I liked X more than 2. And then I just kind of sat there. I was really quiet for a second. I was like, okay, so? And I think it was Kerr or something that he was like sitting right next to me. He was just like, no, you're not gonna get anything out of him. Like, he really doesn't like, and he dislikes them all equally. Like, this, you're not gonna like weasel any like preference out of him or some shit like that. It was interesting to see that in person, because I don't talk to Xeno fan. I don't do that shit in person. I've never even been to an anime convention. I've been to Comic-Con. I've never been to like something specifically for anime. I don't think I can handle it. I don't think I can handle being around anime fans for too long. That's probably the closest. So, yeah, that was just like the dinner. Like, and then we got in a lift. It was like 4 of us that got in, and we're talking so much shit in that car. And that the driver, who clearly doesn't care about JRPGs, he's like dying in the car. We're talking about so many like weird things. He started talking about like how Persona is like the anti-Pure series, because I've never played Persona. They're like, well, if you played it, you wouldn't like it. Like, it was something like that. It was just like, it's too otaku for you, Pure. You wouldn't like it. There was just the whole thing. That whole day was I think the Nintendo New York was the most normal part of that day. It was, again, the intended effect was to not sit there and get them to be super into my anti-Xeno sentiment, even though I'm literally writing a Xeno book and doing a Xeno project, and my entire existence is a contradiction. But, I look at myself in the mirror and ask myself why I do this every day, and I don't have an answer yet.
It is indeed beautiful.
It was, it's... Yeah, I think when I walked into, we were looking at the games they had, and I was like, oh, look, guys, no Xenoblade 2. What a blessing. I said something like that. But I was like, I think they had Torna. I think they might have had that. I don't remember.
I think they had it, yeah, because me and Justin went, 2 days after, on the Sunday. And I think I remember seeing it still, I think. But I did...
They're actually pretty good with stocking the Xeno games. Believe it or not. Like, anytime I've gone there, I know I've seen at least a special editions for one of the games there.
There was even one thing where they have, the section with, all the plushies and stuff. And there was one in the Zelda section, and they have, the big, the Sheikah Slate thing.
Yeah.
It was a giant version of that. It was, a big pillow version of that.
Yeah, it looks so cute.
It was, yeah, and then when I saw it, we walked in, and I went to Fees, and I was like, look, guys... It's the Zohar. They're selling the Zohar. Even this place is cursed. And he went and he bought one.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It does look like the Zohar. It looks like the Xenogears Zohar. But, yeah, it was, yeah, it's hard to believe it feels like it was so long ago, but it was less than a year ago.
Yeah, our meetup feels like it was so long ago as well, but it's...
Yeah, it was only a couple months.
Yeah.
Only a couple months.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys gotta tell me about that. When you guys went, what time of the year was it when you guys went?
We went to...
February.
Yeah, February in Kazakhstan.
Oh, okay, because when we went, it was pretty fucking cold, so I imagine it was also cold when you guys went.
Yeah, actually, it was not too bad.
We had good weather that weekend.
It was not too bad. They had announced a lot of rain or something, but it barely rained, and the temperature was comfy enough for me to go out with my cosplay and be okay. So I remember the first time I went to Kazakhstan a few years back. It was I don't know. It was really, really cold to the point of almost being as cold as Canada, except Canada that time was double the cold of that. But the one thing I was happy this year when I went there is that over here at home it was snowstorm after snowstorm with really bad temperature, and then I went to the States. I was like, bye-bye snow. No more snow, yay. But yeah, the temperature was pretty comfy this year, and it's kind of crazy. I keep saying this, but it's kind of crazy to see how much that whole meetup kind of synchronized perfectly in all angles. We have no issue whatsoever with anything. Everything in line perfectly. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are lucky.
Yeah. And I really like the fact that
lucky.
we, a couple of others, met up with Aaron and Jeremy before and drove from there to the con, and then the others from around Justin's area just started going from there on the same day. I think you guys left on Thursday, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And then there was crazy David and Nick that drove half of the country to come to us.
Right.
Yeah, I still don't know how they did that.
How many hours did they drive? Do you remember?
Wasn't it 14 hours or something like that?
God.
14,
I think it was
that's what
more
I'll be
than that,
driving next time you
actually.
guys have a meetup.
Because I think David had, total for him was 17 hours?
Yeah,
Sounds
they
about
drove
right.
hardcore, and they were taking turns, but they drove for a very long distance to get there. Because, I mean,
I drove...
they drove from
Oh,
Nick's place, and Nick is in Arkansas, so, yeah. Arkansas to Washington. It's just really big distance.
Yeah, that is a decent distance.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know I'll be doing the same when you guys have your next meetup, because I'm all the way
Yes.
down south, so I gotta drive to go, because I'm sure it'll probably be in the tri-state area again.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I know it. Yeah, it took me like 10 hours to get to Aaron's and Jeremy's place.
yeah, then you could take a
Um,
break with us a bit.
Yeah, because, well, I have friends in Pittsburgh, so I was able to stay like halfway with them. And
Yeah,
then, yeah.
I took the bus from Montreal to New York and then transferred to go to Philly, and then they picked me up at Philly, and then I went to their place. I think the whole trip for me was about 12 hours of bus, but it's also because the bus is kind of stop and stuff. Like, it would be shorter than that if not for the stops and transfers, but yeah. Montreal, New York alone is about 9 hours, I think, ish.
Yeah, it's like a 9-hour bus ride. Much shorter if you drive, obviously.
But I'm kind of glad though that I did go to Anime NYC in November, just because it kind of also taught me that route a bit, so I was less stressed when I went to Katsucon with like a lot more stuff. That said, like my luggage was almost exploding. I was just like, oh my god, it's so not gonna fit. I have too many things.
Yeah, I remember when I was over at Aaron and Jeremy's, your luggage just seemed like it just like probably would have exploded open. Like,
Yeah, no.
I was
Yeah,
surprised
you had a
like
lot
how
of
you
stuff.
brought all that stuff.
Well, it's mostly when you cosplay. Cosplay takes a lot of space, and then you're like, wait, I need to bring my cosplays, but I also need to bring all the what if situation happens gear. Because you never know if something's gonna break or if you're gonna need all of your gear and stuff. So, yeah.
It is always funny to me, like, when you're going, like, a long distance to meet people. Like, for example, Aaron and Jeremy, they live maybe an hour and a half away from me at most.
Yeah.
And yet, the only time I've seen them is when I've gone, like, a long distance. Like, we joked about that when I went to come visit you in Montreal, and Aaron and Jeremy just happened to be going that weekend, too, so we met up with them.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it's kind of funny how you guys live, like, an hour and a half away from me, and yet we have to go 6 hours out of our way just to see each other.
But it was funny though too that whenever you came to visit me in Montreal, that they were passing by because of Jeremy's family. They were visiting them, but they were around in Montreal at the same time as you were.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah, we've had some, like, crazy luck with that
Yeah,
stuff.
but Katsucon and all, like, when we managed to get the whole group at Katsucon, just everything was just magical, man. I think I can still proudly say it was probably the best convention I had in all of my years of convention going. So that says a lot. Just mostly because, like, the whole group, the atmosphere, and, like, everything about, like, the whole weekend was awesome, but it would not nearly have been as awesome if not for the people that we were with. Like, it was mostly the experience with, like, the group and stuff was the first time that a lot of us met each other live. Like, I did see a few people live before. Like, I met Kat at Otakon a couple years before. And I met Justin a few months before as well, live. I met him through another friend that I had in the state that I had previously visited, so I knew a few people, but, like, there's quite a few in the group that I had never met live, so it was really cool to, like, all get together and just get to know each other, get drunk on Xenosaga anime for you guys anyways, because I was sober.
Oh gosh, yeah, watching Xenosaga anime drunk was fun.
And also the big day of the photo shoot was probably the best one because we were all in our little Xenosaga bubble and we were taking time to get ready, and then I think Momo contacted the page that we had done, Justin, right? And you invited her to our room, and then you were like, I think this sounds wrong.
I was trying. Yeah, I was trying my best to not be creepy because like I know we were trying to get her to, like, join our thing, but then I had a moment of realization. I'm like, I am literally just messaging this random girl and telling her to come to my hotel room. Like, this is not a good look. But she ended up coming, and like it was all good, and we had a ton of fun.
Yeah, like everyone was kind of rushing around, like trying to get ready, and I think Tara came before she did a bit.
I think
Momo
so,
came when Tara left to settle the matter she had, and then came back. But yeah, Tara that comes as Yuriev, that is here. That was like one of my allies. Was just like, you have Albino and Rubino trying to get ready in the bathroom, and then you just have Yuriev busting, and that's here. Like, oh fuck. But yeah, it was just all super fun to do, and I was also surprised to see that there was quite a few people that actually did show up at the official photo shoot and were like a bit freaking out to see this many Xenosaga together.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
See, Pure? This is why you gotta go to anime conventions. You could be just like us.
Or at least ones with people you know you're going to have a good time with. Because if you go to an anime con not knowing anything, you're not going to have a good time.
Yeah.
At least make sure you're going with a group of people you
I think
like.
taking advantage, we'll see if the whole setup of an anime con to meet up with people and do your own thing with those people is often the best experience you can have, because
Yes.
if you go to a con alone, like, depending on the way you work with stuff, you might not fully enjoy it, but if you go with people you really like, it's like going to some kind of random attraction, and you're just chilling with your buddies. So, and probably splurging a lot of cash in the dealer's room, but that's another thing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've told this story to a couple of people, but like, I almost quit conventions a few years ago.
Yeah.
Because I was fed up with like a whole bunch of nonsense that I was dealing with at the time with some of the people that I was going to conventions with. Mm-hmm. And then I think it was MagFest 2016, I want to say, where that was going to be the last convention I go to. I was going to be like, all right, this is going to be I'm going to do MagFest. I've never gone there before. I was going to be going with a new group of people. It was some high school friends, actually. I'd never gone to a convention with them before. And they're like, oh yeah, we're going to go to MagFest. I was like, all right. I'm with friends from high school. I've known these guys for so long. They're not going to piss me off. So we went and I had a really good time. And then ever since then, I continued to go to conventions and find new things to do.
Yeah. Yeah, the important conventions often like the group you go with.
Well, I mean, you don't have to worry about that now, Justin. Conventions are canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a whole year of not going to conventions, so we're good here.
I'm sad.
Yes.
Sniffles. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know when the next convention I'm actually going to go to. I think, like, I'm going to take a break until maybe midway through 2021. I think, like, the earliest con that I feel like I could probably make is probably PAX East. I might try to go there, but even then, I'd probably be going there for more press purposes than just, like, being a casual con goer.
Yeah, I'll mostly stay in Canada next year, and if by the end of 2021 or late 2021 stuff is a bit more normal, maybe I'll travel up, but not until then. So I think it's safe to assume until 2022 I cannot go to the States at all. So yeah.
That's fair.
It depends on where, like, what state the con is. If it's in Florida, probably won't be another con there until like 2035.
I'm in Montreal,
That's
so
right,
there's a higher chance for me to appear around New York, New Jersey.
Yeah, I'm actually in Florida.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I'm actually in the boonies, so I'm actually pretty safe and okay right now.
That's good.
Good.
I have another friend in Florida. I'm sure I don't know how bad it is in the exact spot he is in, but I know it's probably not great.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad down here. I really wish they would go ahead and close the thing. But I'm actually originally from New Jersey. I'm used to the area up there.
A lot of us in the New York, New Jersey area.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm not too far from there, so I can visit whenever things calms down.
Yeah, born and raised. Used to go to a lot of anime and gaming conventions for artist alley purposes, and it is very much how Mary went ahead and earlier said, if you know the route beforehand, you know what you can and can't bring, and you're less stressed. That is so helpful. So after going to a con one time and doing it, you know what you're going to be bringing, you know what you can and can't go ahead and carry. So
yeah,
it's a good time. It's nice having a plan, basically.
Also enjoyed that, cosplay with right now. That's kind of like on pause.
Yeah.
Been trying to clear out my backlog of games instead.
That's fair. Next time I go to a con, it's probably going to be more for business, for making money than spending money.
Oh, so you're planning on getting maybe a artist label?
Maybe, if I can go ahead and get a following again.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
To get this game out there, so
I'll come and spam your table.
That'd be cool.
Tyler, just you guys are in my weird server. So technically, my entire Hall of Fame channel is just really bad recollections. What have you guys thought of this channel that I just decided to really self-indulgently make?
I thought it's hilarious.
Oh yeah, some of them are just beautiful.
There's one that I keep. Everybody seems to really like. I completely forgot about it. I actually shouted it to Kerr, like before I posted it. There's one. I'll just read it to you guys because obviously not everyone's in here. So he links me a tweet, and the tweet says, "I get sad when I realize that the same person made Xenogears and Xenoblade 2." And then it says in parentheses, though I guess you can argue that his wife was responsible for Xenogears being good. And then Kerr says, "Pure, I'm legitimately curious. How does this tweet make you feel?" Now, this is not the first time he sent me a tweet that's like this. So, of course, my response is, why do you send me this type of shit? And then my next response is, anyway, I get sad too. Because they're both fucking shit. And the rest of it's cut off, but he's just like, I love that pure consistency, because he just knows that it doesn't matter what Xeno game you put in front of me, I'm gonna have the same reaction, more or less. And he was like, but I was legitimately curious about what you would think, and I'm just like, stop this. You need to be stopped. Like, linking me this shit. There's a new option on Twitter, actually, whenever I click on the home button, when you're looking through like your main feed.
Mm-hmm.
And I do this a lot with Xeno tweets now. It'll be an option. I'm going to look right now. It'll be an option that says, not interested in this. And it'll just make the tweet disappear from your feed. You know how many times I've used this feature on like random Xeno retweets that come up in my feed? Like these random like hot takes that people think are hot takes.
Oh my goodness. Don't even get me started on that. Like a couple of weeks ago, there was this thread about like unpopular opinions for like random things. And then somebody made one for Xeno. And like it was getting retweeted like crazy. And then people were just dropping quote unquote hot takes about the Xeno. And like I started muting people. I started like muting words. I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. Like, no, I can't.
Hearing that just makes me...
I still have people muted from that.
I don't even like Xeno, and I still don't even... I like see this and I'm like, what? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, it's just...
Yeah, I was muting. I think I unfollowed someone too. I was not willing to hear it. And I still have I think I have unpopular Xeno opinions like muted just in general. Because I just don't want to see it.
But you hang out with me, though. So, I mean, what does that say?
Somehow you haven't pissed me off as much as other people have.
So I have pissed you off.
Not to the same extent as other people. Just a little bit.
Alright, so I haven't completely succeeded in my mission.
No.
Alright, I got a lot of work to do. Alright.
Yeah. I haven't broken my keyboard looking at you yet.
Okay, that's really bad because I have almost nothing nice to say about Xeno.
That means you gotta step up your game, bro.
That's bad, yeah. These people that like Xeno are doing a better job of trashing it than me. It's terrible. That's really bad. That's I mean, there's one thing you say. I try to give Xeno credit where credit's due. Like, I'm trying to remember. Like the first episode I was on, I was just kind of going through. I was doing what you guys did on the episode before. I was just kind of going through the games and the first time I played them and all that shit. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I was too mean about it when I did. In fact, I was using a point of view from when I first played it, so I was trying to keep that consistent. But you guys don't think I was being like super mean about Xeno at the time, was I?
No, honestly, you've been pretty good about it on here, and even like on Twitter, you've been like. I remember you had a thread where you were talking about like some of the cutscenes. You were praising some of the cutscenes, and like you brought up some really good points I didn't even like think about. So I'm like, all right, that's cool.
Well, I was gonna say I try to give credit where credit is due. When
you are actually surprisingly fair about it. Especially compared to other people I've seen.
Yeah, some people are just being, like, it feels like they just want to hate, but they don't really have a reason for it. It's just like, okay, but then again.
Well, there's two things about Xeno fans that, and this kind of goes into the whole, I'm not sure if I want to release my book as a book. There's two things about Xeno fans. Mm-hmm. One, they're really insecure, and two, they can't read. So... That's kind of a bad combination. That's a really bad combination. Very insecure about like whatever their favorite game is. Like,
that's why I muted the unpopular opinions one, because that was basically all I was saying. It was just people being like, Xenoblade 1 is actually a terrible game, or like, oh, I like Xenoblade 2 better than Xenoblade 1, or unpopular opinions. Like, first of all, those aren't even unpopular opinions, first of all. Second of all, like, just shut up.
Honestly, I don't think there's any of them that's better than another. It's just we all have our own way of like reacting to each games, and they all have their flaws and good points. So I don't think one should be more trash than another, or whatever. The way they're doing it.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you'll have people. I've seen this happen on Twitter. There'll be people who'll say some stuff like, yeah, I didn't like Xenoblade 1 as much. Still a fun game. I still enjoyed some parts. But, I liked another game more. And then, like, you'll read, like, the comments. People will be like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. How dare you say Xenoblade 1 sucks? It's like, he didn't even say that. He literally said, it's like, the person literally said, I enjoyed the game.
Yeah, it's, a lot of it is this. Most people have a favorite Xeno game. And if you say you like the other one more, or you have an argument for one being better than the other, it's like you threaten their family or something.
I don't get it, honestly. I always see those fights,
I don't
just like, I don't understand why you guys are fighting over which one is best and which is just... They're all good. Shut up.
Once I left
I don't know why people go ahead and have to basically bitch and moan and be like, no, this one's better. No, this one's better. Taste is subjective. Let people like what they like.
Exactly.
And if you can't go in and respect and enjoy the fact that they like it, then you're a piece of shit. That. I'm very blunt. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm very blunt when it comes to things like that.
This was a year ago. My God. I once left a big list of stereotypes for every Xeno game. Literally every single one. And they're all like really mean-spirited. I just started sending them to people. Like for each, when I say each game, I'm not like I'm even leaving like episode 1, 2, and 3 for Xenosaga in separate categories. Like that's how like specific I got about it. I even left Torna and Xenoblade 2 in separate categories. Like just an example of how mean-spirited they kind of were. Like there's one for Xenogears. The first one says, pretends they like it for substance, but they actually like it for the power fantasy aspects and how, quote, epic it is. Just shit like that. It's just, like, terrible.
I would read this.
Same.
I think my favorite one was the one for Xenosaga 2, because the first one just says, laughing my ass off.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was just like it just, it's just, because it's specifically for if your favorite game is that. So for episode 2, it was like, that was like the first one I had to put in. And then right after it says, actually fucking Chad, because they don't give a fuck about what everyone else's favorite is. And the last one said, loves bad music placement, and then parentheses, Japanese fans only. because the Japanese version had
Oh,
different
yeah.
music placement. That was
I remember
way
that.
worse than the English one. Yeah. I think maybe some of you. I know you guys have been around for a while. Where was this one for Xenosaga 3? Was really really great. Where was this? This is like this whole list. Every one of these lists is like it's just full of profanity. I just wrote this when I was in like a certain mood, and it just says one of them just says for Xenosaga 3. Wouldn't shut the fuck up about this game on live journal. It's just fun.
It's too good.
Yeah. So maybe I sent it later. I don't want to read it on here. It's a little spicy, so
we like the spicy. Give us the spicy.
Man, I should speaking of, to get back on the topic of the podcast, because we did go a little off. It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun to trash the fandom for a little bit, but we got to get back on track. So once I actually have the betas for quite a few Xeno games, but I don't get these before they come out. It's not like I'm getting these games ahead of time. Most of the time, it's way after they come out. Like the Xenosaga 3 one I have it was like 10 years after it came out. Is more than that. Just to specify, I didn't know anybody at Monosoft until 2016.
Okay.
That's not like an old thing. It's still I can't call it new now. It was like 4 years ago. But yeah, but I have a beta for Xenoblade X, and I've told the person that sent me this exact quote, and I said after about like a half hour playing it, I should have told them I think this is the worst game I've ever played. So the beta for I think I talked about this a little bit.
I remember.
Yeah, I remember hearing from the pod when I was listening to it.
Yeah, it's again. I always go back to this one thing: you run out of fuel by riding on like vehicle mode, like not in the air. You just run out of fuel like going on the ground. It's horrible. Like it's so bad. Voices are missing and are replaced with like more repetitive voices. I never said this part, but the parts of the maps are a little different. But they're like some of them are very obviously unfinished. So they'll just turn into like no textures, and then it'll just kind of turn into like corrupted stuff, and it's just like obviously it's an unfinished game, so obviously I'm not supposed to judge it. But at the same time, there was nothing of substance to take away from this beta. I'm pretty sure it was just sent to me just to fuck with me. I'm like that's my theory here. Some people be like, "Oh, but it'd be super interesting. You should leak that pure. You should leak stuff. You should leak all this shit." And, like, I had somebody ask me the other day, like, "Oh, do you know when the next Monolith Soft announcement's going to be?" And I was like, "No, and if I did, I wouldn't tell you, because I have enough tact not to fucking do that." But, the closest I came to doing something like that was when Zelda came out. So not even Xeno. It was when, because I knew about that, like 2 weeks or a week and a half before it came out. Before it was announced. And, the thing, in hindsight, I'm sure you guys are remembering I kept posting pictures of Ganondorf, like, the week before it came out. That was like the joke. And then 12 hours before the direct, at exactly midnight, I posted a video of like Ganondorf laughing, like no context. and then the trailer came out, and you probably saw. I don't even know if that's Ganondorf in the trailer, but it looks like Ganondorf. That was like the joke.
Yeah.
So
it reminds me how after that trailer came out, like a lot of people were doing that meme of like, Ganondorf have to rehydrate or something.
Oh.
Like a.
And yeah, there was all the sexy Ganondorf on it.
It was hilarious. But yeah, I was really excited when I saw that announcement, actually. It was like, yes!
That was the closest I came. I remember I told something to Fees, because he's like a huge Breath of the Wild fan. I said something to him that in hindsight, he got like really angry at me, because he knew I was like kind of fucking with him a little bit. And I was like, well, I kind of implied it was like, well, maybe it won't be something you care about. And he loves Breath of the Wild, and I said it like very specifically, and then the announcement came out, and he's like, "Dude, fuck you." He was like, "Seriously."
Yeah, I remember I was watching that direct actually at work at noon, kind of late afterwards. But yeah, I kind of freaked out in the small office. I kind of locked myself into, because basically there's the cafeteria that was kind of further away from the internet, so I went to the office where the warehouse manager was working to like eat and just like be closer to the connection. And yeah, I was freaking out alone in that office, being like, yeah, Zelda. But yeah.
And the thing is, I get really nervous now whenever one of these trailers is going to come out that anyone at Microsoft has worked on, because ever since, after, like, the Xenoblade 2 reveal, I've been, like, kind of nervous about, like, man, I hope these trailers don't suck as, like, a reveal. Even though these games will suck because they're Xeno. But still, like, I'm kind of sitting here, I'm like, I really hope these trailers are, like, nice, you know? I hope they're not, like...
Yeah.
They don't feel, like, super unfinished. When the Xenoblade Definitive Edition trailer came out, I was, like, kind of nervous because... I was just... Something about it was, like, going into it, I was like, oh no, I'm like, this trailer might be, like, jank as hell. Because if you've played Definitive Edition, you know some parts of it are, like, very obviously a remaster. And I was like, I really hope that's not too obvious in the trailer. It just looks weird. And it ended up being fine. But, you know, it's just stuff like that I get, like, before this I got, like, really nervous about. Or, like, I hope they don't show something that people will take it out of context and think this other thing. And then the build-up for the game is just horrible.
Yeah. I get what you mean there. Yeah, I'm so glad though that the Definitive Edition though has been getting a lot of like, I feel like it's been getting a lot of trailers here and there thrown into ads and stuff. Because the other day I was telling the others how I was listening to stuff on YouTube and like I think I got the Xenoblade ad at least like 12 times. I was just like, whoa, that's crazy. But it may just be my phone just spying on me and trolling me Xeno stuff, because it knows I like Xeno.
It's probably recommended stuff, recommended ads.
Yeah, probably.
Another strange memory is, this is a weird one. So I've kind of avoided talking about this for a long time because there was a good time where I wasn't allowed to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, nothing's changed for me, but it's at a point where I'm just like, I'm not going to get in trouble for talking about this. I don't care. The Xenosaga HD petition thing from like 6 years ago. I remember when that happened.
Yeah.
This was before... This was just before, well, or maybe like at the beginning of like, oh man, I'm starting to like not like Xeno or something. Mm-hmm. So I actually had signed that petition, believe it or not.
Wow.
Nice.
And I didn't even think about it. I just kind of signed it. I was like, oh, you're doing this thing? Oh, fuck it, whatever. No, I just kind of signed it. And people were always linking it to me. I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'll sign it. And I'm trying to remember who, like at what point was it like, there was a point where it was pitched. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'll just talk about like what happened at like Namco or whatever.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that, people don't really know what happened.
Yeah.
So it was actually pitched to, like a marketing team, some producers, and this was largely a Harada thing.
Right.
This was largely his idea.
Mm-hmm.
And people got mad at him because like, oh, there's no Xenosaga HD. Where is it, Harada? You should be thanking him for even thinking about it. It was very thoughtful of him. He had nothing to do with Xenosaga at all.
Yeah, honestly, like, I super respect the dude for even giving us a slight hope of, like,
for even like, bothering
it.
to tell us.
Because it's really sad with Xenosaga, because it's, like, it's the only Xeno games that are really easy to access for new people. So, because Xenogears you can just buy off BSN, it's super easy to access, but Xenosaga is like, yeah, good luck, especially with the third one. Good luck to find it.
Oh boy.
Or good luck to try and emulate it, because that's the only second option you can have.
Yeah. So it was pitched, but it wasn't like a long process of it being considered. I think it got pitched twice, to be honest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it seemed like. That's what I've gotten from... Because before I knew anyone at Emolus, it was Namco. That's how I got to know anybody at Emolus. So it was through Namco.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually the original connection. But with Namco, the gist I get is that it was kind of pitched twice. I don't know if that's true. That's my speculation here.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I don't like doing Xeno speculation. But I think the idea was that... Because at the end of the day, it's, is this marketable or not? Is there a big net profit here?
Yeah.
Right.
And not even that is it. You got to put your own staff members on it too. Usually, like even with the original Xenosaga, even though there's some contradictions and interviews whether it's true or not, but there were actual Namco staff on that series.
Yeah.
That were helping out. Like but it's just they weren't. A lot of the producers weren't helping out that much. It was just development team stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like the storyboard artist for Xenosaga 1 and 2 is a Namco guy. They're not Monosoft. So the idea is this was before Xenoblade 2 came out. Xenoblade 2 is the most popular Xeno game now, at least in terms of sales.
Yeah.
You could argue maybe Xenoblade 1 is more popular. But a lot of people say, well, with that game, and with the Switch being a more mainstream system than the fucking Wii U, then, there's more of a chance now, people will become more interested in Xeno, as his other games.
Yeah.
So there's more of a demand for it now. And that's true. There is more demand for it now. But the problem is that vocalness from that crowd versus
actual numbers.
Yeah. It doesn't match up.
Mm.
Like, there's a huge inconsistency. And there's actually a tweet that somebody sent to Harada saying, oh, if you release it, I'll buy 10 copies.
Oh, I saw that tweet.
And and Harada, like, knowing the reality of the situation, just responds coldly, like, you should have done that 10 years ago, or some shit. Like, just shut that.
I remember that tweet.
Down.
That was so good.
Damn. Like, but that's, like, the guess. It's like, I mean, I think, because, like, some stuff does well, like, the art book sold pretty well, all things considered. But it's not, like, even things like, they even take, like, Xenoblade numbers into example. That's still not, like, to remaster those 3 games, that's still not really, like, it's not, like, this huge it would have to be through other things. They'd have to do a whole marketing blitz in order to have it be, like, a big profit, like, through, figures and shit, which Xenosaga has, but it had to be really careful about, and they're like, this is not even fucking worth it, at least not right now. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't even, from a sheer marketing standpoint, I don't think they made the wrong decision. But that's, a lot of people don't want to hear that. They're like, well,
Yeah, I understand. I think also what's really hard, especially with Xenosaga, is that the Xenosaga people, or the people who played Xenosaga, a lot of them either got into it late, so, like, the old numbers were not really matching up to, because, like, a lot of us might have gotten copies used after the fact, because we found them late, but also, a lot of them are not really connected to the communities, so whenever there's petition or any kind of action going on, like, those people might actually miss it too, so it's not really easy to, like, spread out the word so much about those things to help out, I feel like, but yeah. I totally understand this standpoint. It's just I find it sad too, because I'm like, it would be cool to just have it available again, and just, like, even me, like, I hold the games, but, like, the old TV I have to use it on is kind of shitty, and, like, my new TV, whenever I try to get the PS2 working on that, it looks like pixels hell. So it's just like, oh god. It's really hard to, like, really play those games on, like, new technology, and it would have been cool to get them, like, translated better to, like, this new technology to be able to play them a bit easier without having to go through a bunch of zigzags and stuff too. But yeah.
Yeah. But it's just like Harada said in the original, when people got super excited over that original petition, which I also signed as well.
Same here. I didn't even have a Twitter, and I made a Twitter just to go there, and then it got hacked.
I don't even think I had a Twitter at the time. It was an actual petition site back in 2014, but people showed, they were like, look, there's 5,000 signatures, and Harada responded going, I said that there has to be tens of thousands of signatures to even get Namco to even be interested in this. Like, you could tell the guy had his heart in the right place. He wanted to give the games a chance, especially with how good Blade was booming. But without the numbers matching up to what the higher-ups want, it's just like how Pierre said, it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Unfortunately, and that's the sad reality about it. It's all about numbers.
But I feel like a lot of people also miss that petition. Like, I spoke with a lot of people afterwards. They were like, "Oh wait, there was a petition? I didn't know."
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know.
Well, sadly, like I remember, I don't know if it was around that time or maybe a few years later, was the .heck GU HD trilogy.
Yeah.
But I don't think that did too well, so I wonder if that might also factor in.
Yeah, there was like rumors that like people started saying like, oh, they said this because the .hack trilogy didn't sell well, but I don't know how true that is. And I don't think that HD collection did that poorly either.
Yeah. I did.
Oh yeah, I do remember they.
I don't have any evidence to back that up.
I remember they did celebrate selling 300,000 copies at one point, which I don't know if that would be good or bad.
That's not a great number, but I don't know how much went into that remaster. So
fair.
It depends on how the source code is handled too. It's a lot to think about.
I wish they would like just try it with episode 1 and see what happens from there, but that probably won't happen either.
They gave you the wrong trilogy with you get Kaijiro doing the music.
Yeah.
Yep. Like, for me, right now, especially with Saga, I would even just be content if they released it on the PSN store. Just, like, they've released so many very obscure, very low sales PS2 games through the PSN on the PS3. Why not Saga? They did it for God Hand. They did it for a lot of things that did under and all those games did like under 1 million units when they sold worldwide. Whereas Saga, especially episode 1, sold I think about almost 1 million units in the first few months.
I think it was actually more. Well, I mean, total sales. Yeah. I could be wrong, but...
the reason why the Xenosaga anime exists is because Toei actually was impressed with the sales of the game.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, the best chance would have been just like a classics release on like the PS3 or something.
Yeah, I think even just that would help a lot of people just try them out if they want to try them out. But at the same time, I could see how maybe these games might be hard to like emulate, because just emulating them on PC takes very specific settings and they're really hard to get stable. So I don't know, maybe that may be the issue, but that's just me pitching what I think might be difficult with those. But
the source code for episode 1 is kind of
It is. I don't even think anybody knew how to mod that game until 2 years ago videos finally started to surface on how to actually, I remember watching a video, and I remember sharing it in Mira and everything too, of somebody went ahead and found the debug room of Xenosaga Episode 1, and they're going through the fully rendered Shion Jin's house, potential little extra dungeon, the creation room of Momo, all that stuff that wasn't accessible in the game that you only ever saw in the previews back in Japan only, or content that was completely cut altogether. And that only just got discovered 2 years ago.
I think it was longer than that. I have some screenshots of being in Jin's house from 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
Let me publicly again, because a lot of the code and a lot of the resources to even be able to get the models extracted and everything, it all died with Godsib, and hardly anybody has any recollection of that site whatsoever. There's hardly any traces of it on the internet as well too.
Well,
yeah, my memory of that kind of stuff is where to get that stuff is. I'd have to think about it for a while. I have to go into my. I have a Xeno hard drive. It's a mess, so I don't know where a few people have seen what it looks like. The folder, this is a nightmare. How do you have all this shit?
It's like Citan's junkyard, basically.
That's a good analogy.
Let's see.
But yeah.
Any other stories anybody wants to share?
I think we shared quite a bit. I don't know.
I got one.
Yeah, we somehow got 2 hours out of this.
I've been debating on telling this other one, but I don't know if I want to or not.
Go ahead.
You can.
You can.
Oh, no, it's barely recollection.
Nah, it's okay.
It's from like 2 months ago. Not even 2 months. No, not even 2 months ago. Fuck. I don't know.
It's up to you. I got one, but mine's really pretty short and sweet as well, too.
Oh, well.
Hey, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, go for it.
Basically, I remember, I'm actually in the process of making a game that was originally supposed to be a webcomic, and the whole entire synopsis and everything, like the starting reason for making and sitting down and making the story for 16 years now is, wait, is it 16 years? 2006? No, 2006. It is 2020. I'm really bad at math. Anyway, 2006. I had a Xenosaga III nightmare. Like, I actually had a physical nightmare where it was one of those really weird, like, you're the main character and you're feeling everything that's going on and along it. I had that really vivid nightmare. Like, it was like I was a person, like, in the middle of, like, of Miltia, like, the Miltian conflict and everything would happen in episode 3.
Oh, gosh.
And it was so traumatic, but also really intriguing to me that I actually started building my own lore and my own story just because of that nightmare. And I don't think I would be where I am with my story right now if it wasn't for that.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I did see a few things that you shared before, and like it looked really good so far. Can't wait to see more.
I've actually been working on some sprites the whole entire time we've been doing the podcast.
Nice.
So
Yeah, I've had some Xeno dreams before. They usually get kind of weird, but...
All Xeno dreams are nightmares.
that one was very much a nightmare. It was so real, and it was so jarring, and it was something else.
Yeah, we're talking mission conflict too, so it's like, yeah, that's kind of the worst place to be. Especially if it's while the song is activated and all the shit's going on.
It was definitely during that. It was definitely during that. It was pretty intense, but yeah, that's what I was working on.
Nice.
Oh, so cute.
Are you ready to
But,
share
yeah.
Pure?
Oh,
That's mine.
fine. This feels like more like an excuse to talk about something than a very real issue and actual memories, as per usual with Pure. No good vibes allowed. I still don't even know how I want to start this. Let me look back at because it's something that somebody sent me,
Mm-hmm.
and let me see if I can go back. This is probably way too long ago. I'm not gonna find this. Let me see. Oh, I'm gonna actually manually search it.
Yeah, I can do some editing.
Okay.
magic.
No, I just found it. It's no big deal.
Okay.
So there was an interview it was like a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Famitsu interview. There were a couple of Famitsu interviews. Like Takahashi had like a Q&A. It was pretty normal.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing too weird about it. Let me clarify this. So I don't think Takahashi is that great at interviews. Half the time when I know he's going to do an interview in the future,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just tell myself, please don't say something stupid. Please don't say something stupid. But then there's Sugiura, and he is even worse at interviews than Takahashi. He's only fine when he's talking about business things, because that's his thing. He's not really the creative force behind Xeno games at all.
Mm-hmm.
So when he starts talking about Xeno games in any way, immediately it's like a contradiction to something that Takahashi said, because the way he talks about it is like, it makes like no sense. Or he'll like word it in a way that you're going to walk away from it thinking something like weird, like, huh, that's weird, that doesn't make any sense, or you can put two and two together. Like, there's something off about the way he talks about certain games. I think a part of it is to just generate some shallow buzz, because that's kind of his job sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but he had like an interview recently. You guys have probably heard about this. There's the article title for probably the most well-known that like sharing of this interview, or like these parts of it, is this. I can feel my stomach sinking just with the way it's worded. Xenogears 2 didn't happen because of Final Fantasy Spirits Within.
Oh yeah,
have you guys heard of this?
I have seen that.
Yep.
I saw that, and I was like,
They all
immediately wanted to
complained
ask
about
you
that.
about it, but
Yeah, dude, trust me, my fucking DMs blew up when that went out, because people were like, what the fuck is this? Like, Pure, you've never said this before, or Pure, this contradicts this one thing Takahashi said, what the fuck? Or Pure, this contradicts this one fandom belief that's actually total horseshit, by the way, but still, it contradicts this one thing I've been indoctrinated into believing, or some horror, just terrible. You know, this is why I don't like these interviews. It's not even just because they're bad, it's because now I'm going to get bothered because of how bad they are. The interview itself isn't even that bad. It's the interpretation of it that's bad, and how you could walk away from it that's bad. So actually, you know what? I can't just talk about this. I need a drink. There's no way I could just talk about this, you know, as things are right now. I just need to. Alright. So, in this interview, Segura actually never says Final Fantasy Spirits Within. At all. He never says it. What he says is, let me get the exact wording. Let me at least get the exact wording of their translation, which was fine. There's nothing wrong with what they translated, really. Mm-hmm. And there's other interpretations of this interview that are out there, and they're much worse. They're so much worse. It's I don't understand how the fandom and journalists that are writing about Xeno have arguably gotten worse about talking about it. It's been 22 years, and it's still so bad. It actually blows my mind. It actually completely blows me away. But anyway, I'm getting a little in my Xeno was a mistake mode here. Just bear with me. So there, what was the exact quote they gave here? So they said, okay, because Square was putting their quote was putting massive investments into film business, mm-hmm. which is not wrong. That's not wrong. I'll make sure that they didn't. Whoa, I didn't mean to do that. So Spirits Within. Let's see how many times it's mentioned here. 2 for the title, and 1 for where they talk about, okay, in parentheses, it's like their little edit, I guess, saying like, well, the first movie was Spirits Within, and that's it. He did not mean specifically Spirits Within, and if somehow he ever mentioned at any point in his career, spoilers, he hasn't. If he has, I'll fucking eat like my hat or some shit. I don't know, but the point is that Square. Here's the real reason, and why this interpretation is incredibly annoying, and why others are even worse. It's only going to get worse from here. This is going to be a great way to cap this shit off, isn't it? So when they were making the move out of Square, when they made that decision and the build to it, Square was making a lot of changes. I'm sure a lot of you guys are aware that like very late 90s Square into like the 2000s Square was coming like a different place almost.
Yeah.
You might have noticed not only did these people leave and became like co-founders of Molotov and got some other Square guys to go with them, a lot of people left. Like, it's not just, the fucking world of people that left Square doesn't just exist with people that went to Molotov.
Yeah.
A lot of people left. A lot of creative minds left. Like, after Chronicles, what's-his-face left. I always forget his name, just like on the first or second podcast episode I was on. I forgot his name.
Masato Kato?
Masato Kato. Yeah. Don't bully me over this. So, So he left not that long. He became like a freelancer after Chrono Cross. I think like a year or two or some shit after Chrono Cross, maybe like 3 years. He left. Like people were leaving. And the thing is, what Sugiura says here, to a certain degree, is a contradiction of what Takahashi said like 20 years ago, where he said, actually, one of the reasons I left is because Square is making massive investments into Final Fantasy, and they just want to do Final Fantasy stuff, and they're moving away from doing other IPs, and he said, I don't think that's good business going forward. There's like a quote from him, just like, I don't remember where it was, I don't remember that well, but it's a thing he said, and that, that almost feels like a contradiction of what Sugiura is saying. They're both true, it's not entirely one thing or the other.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing with the film industry is it's not just Spirits Within. They were doing this for the long haul at the time they were leaving. It wasn't just a Final Fantasy movie. They did Final Fantasy Spirits Within, which obviously did not bode well for them. Mm-hmm. And again, this is before it didn't bode well for them. They were just working on it. They were just preparing themselves for it, which was a big deal. But on top of that, they could have kept their other ideas going. Like, there were a bunch of other, like, things like, oh, what happened to this IP and this thing and this thing and this thing? Or this isn't being handled the same anymore. It's not just, we didn't make a Xenogears sequel. Their shit was changing everywhere. And if you weren't in that Final Fantasy, like, in the roots of that, which Takahashi had recently kind of left, maybe he could have gotten back into being, like, a major role of Final Fantasy, but he wasn't interested in that. Mm-hmm. And Sugiura was kind of opening this opportunity for the both of them. So there's it's not just the industry, it's not just that, it's a big combination of things, just big changes. And I think Sakaguchi or whatever, I think there's like a time where he said he didn't like Square around that time, like he was all up money to them. And so when so with the film industry thing, Spirits Within would come out in 2001. Obviously that would be the first thing. That was the big thing they were preparing for, but they were also preparing this for the long haul. So you guys have to remember. You guys remember The Animatrix?
Yeah, I remember the short film they did for that.
Well, the CG parts of that are made by Square.
Yep.
Which is another thing they had to help invest in. Then there was Advent Children, which was done by a different studio, but Square by that point had either owned the studio or was putting huge investments into it. That's more money being put, and also, by the way, more of them focusing on Final Fantasy, putting more money into it. So things like that are really what he's talking about. He's not just talking about Spirits Within. There wasn't a specific thing that it was like, oh yeah, Spirits Within ruined everything. Like that's not that you're painting a really one-dimensional picture. Even more so than Sugiura is, which is impressive because I don't think he's a good interviewer when it comes to this stuff. It's like a nightmare. So now everybody's saying, well, that doesn't make any sense. Because, and this brings up another thing about, Xenogears not getting a sequel is, he said, there's like the thing where, well, Xenogears needed 1 million copies within a year to get a sequel. Now, normally when I think of Xenogears and 1 million sales, it's kind of just gone over my head that how much of that's like a thing, because for a lot of these people, it's not just people that make these games, it's for everyone. Reaching that 1 million mark is like a big deal for any game, especially if it's like a game that's not like like a new IP, maybe not like heavily advertised, like another franchise by the same company, like Final Fantasy. That 1 million mark is like a big deal, especially if you get it in 1 year. Mm-hmm. But there's this thing where people believe, and I kind of feel bad for not like even thinking about it that much until, I guess I had a reason to. That people think that it needed 1 million sales in 1 year to get a sequel, and that's why it doesn't have a sequel. That's actually not true. Like that's actually not a thing. That's that should have been in the Xeno Myths episode, but I never even thought about it. That would have been a pretty tasty one. I guess one of those regrets.
We'll need to do a part 2.
I don't know if my blood pressure can handle a part 2 right now, man. But yeah, that was like and the thing is, they're like, well, somebody's lying, I guess. Like they're like, oh, he said this before. Nobody said anything about that million sales thing. No official source has ever said that. There's literally no source for it. You want to know what's even worse? Wikipedia is not the best source for things, but even the Wikipedia page for Xenogears makes no mention of needing 1 million sales. Like, there are sources that are considered like these authoritative sources for Xenogears or these older games, and they make the statement, and it's not true. And there's no source for it, and they're okay with having no source for it and still putting it there. And that, if you can't tell, that fucking pisses me off. Like, that's to me, that's not cool, because...
Yeah, that's not right.
It's worse when you have writers for the game on their fucking Twitter talking about how there's misinformation and shit. And even acknowledging that myth, that's actually been acknowledged on Twitter by people. Like, it's... And people ignored it, because I guess it doesn't, you know, they're so into believing that, you know, and even worse is, you know, there's a couple of people that so they're like, well, if Segura is probably not lying then, and that means that Square, I guess they're assuming that Square was the one that gave the million fucking sales thing out. They must have been doing that as like as a cover up or some shit, to cover up how shitty their situation was now that they were putting all this money into movies, which is fucking horseshit. I mean, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of money put in, but they weren't in dire. It was a big risk, but it wasn't like they were in like this horrible situation until after the movie came out, and then they realized, oh no, this flopped more than we could possibly imagine. Oh no, we lost like almost $100 million or some shit.
Yikes.
Then it was a problem, but you know, this whole thing, like, you know, this is why I was questioning if I wanted to talk about it or not, because now I'm gonna take another sip of this drink, because I'm you know, I think it's got like 20 degrees hotter in the fucking room.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
But yeah, and it's like, I guess I don't know. When I hear people say like, "Oh, it's just a cover up" or some shit, it's like, man, how many excuses are you gonna make for something like that happening? Like, and how you can consider yourself like, you know, a lot of these people literally label themselves as like informative about the series or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, come ask me about the shit, and then you say that, and it's like, man, like that really bugs me. That really bothers me, and it shouldn't bother me, because I'm not even like a Xeno fan, and that like it really makes me angry. And again, it shouldn't make me angry. It shouldn't make me this angry, but it really pisses me off, because I've had people that have worked on these games that are like, man, sometimes it's hard to talk about the games from a certain angle, because especially with like Western fans, it's like there's like certain beliefs that are so coded in there that if you say something, they're going to see it from a certain angle that's not true. And it's like, you know, a lot of these guys didn't even have fucking Twitters, because imagine being a Xeno developer and having a Twitter. It's bad enough as it is. Like, you see, how many times have you seen Xenosaga make a tweet about like, man, look at all this misinformation about this shit?
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up.
Yeah, I didn't even like bringing that up, because like that's like weird. Like, I don't even like dredging that up. But it's like, it's too easy of an example. But it's fucking everywhere. I don't even know how like that doesn't happen to Han. I guess because they don't identify him with Zeno that much in the same way.
Yeah.
Because he gets around fine on Twitter. Like, maybe because he doesn't give a shit. He's like he seems like a savvy guy. Especially from what I've heard from people that have like worked with him, everybody's like really likes him. So yeah, that's why. But I don't even know. And then there's one other thing that was insane. I haven't gotten to the interpretation of this. That's even worse. It gets even worse, people. It gets like, strap the fuck in. It's about to get insane. And as if this wasn't insane already. So I guess there's a he kind of worded this in a bad way. Segura uses the term Xenogears 2 when he didn't really have to. He could have just said science fiction game that Takahashi wanted to make, because that's really what it was. Yeah. Takahashi, remember how I've talked about this, he wanted, you know, as he was making Xenogears, his ideas were getting more progressively science fiction rooted. And by the time he was done, he was like, man, I really want to make a science fiction game. That's why Xenosaga is the way it is. Like, it's, you know, it's very much, there's like almost no like inkling of like traditional fantasy RPG stuff in that game. And when he says Xenogears 2, he really means that. It's not necessarily something that has to be rooted in Xenogears like lore or anything. Like, there was a time where when a journalist was talking to him, and he said something like that Xenogears was technically the 5th game in Xenosaga or whatever, and Takahashi just kind of gave like an answer like that he was like, oh, well, we're still working on episode 1. We're so long away from like an episode 5 or whatever, something like that. And then like after that, he would give an interview. I believe this was after that. There was one time where almost immediately after that interview, he talks about in like a Japanese interview. He's like, yeah, Xenosaga is not a sequel to Xenogears. It's like, this is a new game. Like, this is a new thing. Segura said something like, I made Molotov so maybe one day, or rather so that we could see Xenogears 2 happen in some way, was his wording. Mm-hmm. And that game was Xenosaga. Because Xenogears 2 likely would have been him going more in on the sci-fi, and a lot of that setting would have been, that, like, it's a story in space and shit. But that, he was like, well, I just want to make a game like that. It didn't have to be Xenogears. Mm-hmm. That's why he had no problem making Xenosaga. And that's why he had no problem being like, well, it's a new game. Where it goes from here, he wasn't really 100% sure yet. There were ideas. A lot of people say, well, maybe we would have gotten something like Xenogears Remake. It wasn't really decided what they would do entirely, because Takahashi's been very open, especially nowadays, that whatever he makes is just what he felt like doing in the moment. So, even he was like, whatever, if we were to keep going with Xenosaga, he said it could have been really, like, he never, like, wrote anything for it. It would have just been, like, at the whim of whatever idea he felt like pursuing at the time. So, obviously within, like, the lore of the game, but even then he's like, dude, he's like, his wording was like, it really could have been, like, so many different things. Like, the reason why he jumps to Xenoblade, something totally different, is because he just does what it feels like doing. So it's like, he's like, there's no, you should have, like, little expectations if, like, a sequel were made as to, like, what it would be exactly, just because it would just be whatever you felt like doing. Yeah. So, and I feel like even the way I'm wording it isn't, like, enough. Like, it's a little more nuanced than that, but I'm not writing about it. I'm just ad-libbing it right now. So, there are better ways for me to word this, so keep that in mind when I'm saying all of that. So, yeah, but there's people who think that, now they think that because of the way Segura said that, and he wasn't very clear about it, that Monosoft was made for Xenogears 2, that they're going to make Xenogears 2 someday. That's the reason why the company was made. And that's their goal. Because he said something about how, like, Xenoblade it's a part of their goal, and it's, like, a small part of it. Somebody wrote an article saying that what he meant by that was that their ultimate goal is to make a Xenogears 2. That's going to be their biggest game, but they can't do it yet. Jeez. It's too... I guess Xenogears is so epic to this writer that, nothing he's made before that in the company was worthy. Oh, it's gonna... This is what they're leading up to. It's leading up to Xenogears 2. That's the only reason that the company exists. They're literally the only company. To this day, they're still going to make it. They're working on it. It's like... And then he mentioned something like, and Xenoblade is only a small part of the Xenogears and Xenosaga metaverse or whatever. And the entire reason why those games exist is to be a part of some sort of, like, dream story he has, which is probably my favorite straw man about Takahashi, that he has a dream story and isn't as self-indulgent as he says he is. And that, Perfect Works was the fucking blueprint for everything he's ever made, ever. It's not just him... Even though he's literally made fun of himself for not having original ideas, like, before Xenoblade 2 came out, he was like... He said something that was like... he said something like when he was doing the same thing in that game again, or in, like, another game. And I think he said something like how many times a village or something was, like, would be burnt down in the game at the start and shit like that. He was, like, making fun of himself. But I guess, people think, like, he has a dream story, and he's still trying to do it. And that's why certain things in these games exist.
Yeah.
I'm not going to entirely blame someone for maybe thinking that, because there's so much bullshit in this fandom that you would
personally,
that,
I'm mostly...
Even me saying it here now is, like, a brave thing, apparently. Because if you say that, that's controversial.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about pursuing new creative ideas. It's about doing the same old shit over and over to these people.
Yeah. And, like, what the worst part about that interview is that it came out right as Definitive Edition was coming out, and Definitive Edition has... Future Connected.
Oh God! Don't get me.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on that.
Yeah, you know exactly where I'm going with this,
dude. People were. Oh my God! Some of the shit I was reading about that was like before it came out, and I regret even trying to, like, look for anything. It was just one of the things. I was like a glutton for punishment. I was like, I wonder what people think about this. Holy fuck, dude! Like, what people expect from him, like the stupid shit they expect. And the reason it's unbelievable how Takahashi's been making games for 22 years, and they don't get why he makes games. They just don't understand. Like, he's been so clear about it at this point, and they still think he does it just because, well, he wants to make it because of this game, and he wants to expand meta lore. Like, just because he shoves some shit that's the same shit, like, it's either two things, and these are his own words. These aren't my fucking words. This isn't, like, insider information. One of them is and this is from like '99. He said this back when the Model Soul's website was new. He said he didn't like to have like his fans felt like betrayed by like straying away, like completely away from like what they knew. You know, it's like to remind people that he remembers them, which is why even like you see like sometimes it's like a reinterpretation of like an old concept.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's or like a character. Mm-hmm. Or other times it's just like a shallow reference, which is a whole lot of, unfortunately.
Honestly, it's something that I've always loved about them. Like, they're all different, but they always have a bit... No, there's always going to be this small cameo thing that's going to be like a little wink to old work, and I really appreciate that, but I never really expect, like, a new game being like the old one I like. Like, I come into the games knowing that I'm gonna like what they write because it's their style that I'm drawn to. But yeah, I do enjoy those little cameos things that happens.
Yeah. It's people have this expectation that like Xeno is gonna become this like MCU of JRPGs or some stuff like that. Just like everything's just going to come together in some weird way, and it's like that's not.
Yeah, if something like that would ever happen, it'd be completely like retroactive because these games were not meant to like be a thing. Xenoblade 1 was not even meant to have a sequel. Yeah. I got one, but that was never wrapped up the game. Like, okay, yeah, we're going to make a sequel directly tying into it or in some way. Like that was never a thing. That's another thing. Like that every time a Xeno game comes out. And now, when Xenosaga was coming out, I kind of understand why people were saying the things they were. That was less offensive. But then they kept doing it when Xenoblade came out. And they're like, well, this is him pursuing his dream story again. He's doing it again. And then Xenoblade X came out and had nothing to do with Xenoblade 1. And then when that game came out, they were like, oh, this is the dream story. He's doing it again, guy. He's doing it again. It's a new reboot. And then Xenoblade 2 came out. And it had nothing to do with Xenoblade X. And once again, he's trying to connect everything. You see what he's doing? He's a genius. And then Future Connected comes out. And he didn't do what they expected them to do. And it's like, it's the same cycle every time. Every time it's the same cycle. And it's like, there's no, people don't learn, and the other thing is, like, if they're like, oh, this is actually a genius way, they've been connecting it, like, this has been in the intent the whole time. If that's true, let's just say that's true for a second, then his world-building abilities are fucking terrible, because the way you would have to bend yourself into a pretzel to do that is so bad. Like, it would be so terrible. Like, I'm sorry to anybody that likes that idea, but it's just... It's a problem to the point where some of the developers are like slightly embarrassed to talk about it. I'm sorry, I got a little spicy there.
It's totally fine.
It's okay. It's all right.
Like a pepperoni flavored hot
dog. I enjoy it completely.
Same here.
Very enjoyable.
Yes, and that might actually be a good stopping point. Because I don't know. I don't think we can talk.
No.
I just want to make sure that there's because at the end, like, people are gonna ask. They're like, no, you got really like, what about this? What about that? There's always something. There's always something. You know what I saw the other day in one of these theories? I saw somebody make a theory, and some people were like super. It was just genius. Mm-hmm. I think I saw some people. I mean, I get. So many people respond to like theories like that maybe it never happened. Mm-hmm. I like to think that I had a dream when I saw this post and it never actually happened, just so I could tell myself it never happened. But I saw someone say something like that Xenoblade X actually stands for Xenoblade 10. They're planning ahead. I think that was my...
I don't think I heard that one.
The point where
I don't think I do.
Dude, that sounds so bad that I almost hope it happens. Like, that
it's like...
That sounds so terrible.
That reminds me of, like, what people would say about Mega Man when Mega Man X came out, and like, oh, is that actually Mega Man 10? And
I mean, at least that game takes place in the same continuity.
That's true.
I mean, it might as well not, but in some regards, It's like, it does, but it's like, I almost regret going on that rant, because that's like, I I don't like saying that stuff in a ranty way. Like, a lot of stuff in that book, when you go through it, you'll understand. If you have any reading comprehension, you'll understand, like, oh, okay, this is why he makes games. And this is that, and this is that. He likes this concept. Mm-hmm. And this is his take on it with this game, and this is this thing on this game. There's a nuanced reason why he goes, even though it's ultimately just what he feels like doing in the moment. There is I'm kind of oversimplifying it. There is a nuanced reason why he goes from one thing to the other, why he feels like doing it. A lot of it is even rooted in narrative, but, you'll get that when that happens, but it's just, oof, man, like, and there is some blame to go around with, like I said, Takahashi likes to make sure some people, in his own words, don't feel betrayed, and I feel like that, his need to do that, has kind of made that worse in some ways. Like, I don't mind Xeno references or whatever, but sometimes I'm like, you need to. Sometimes it's like, when I remember certain things about games, I just remember the references, and I'm like, that's not good that I'm remembering the references and not, some of the original parts of the game. That's like kind of annoying because a lot of the times those are my least favorite parts of those games. But I mean, that's just me. I mean, man, this is what I was afraid of when I got on this podcast. I was very, very afraid. Some people feel so adamant about that. They're so passionate about that. That this is the reason why Xeno is a thing. And it's like, when the way they put it, it's like they don't respect the artistic integrity of the games as they were made, when they came out, why they were made, the real reasons why they were made, what they were trying to do with, those characters in those games, and those are the, and what he was trying to tell with that specific setting at the time that game came out. Those are the important parts of those games, and when you just turn it into something else, into this other horse shit about, like, oh, with this meta thing, look at this meta, it's not, even if it were a thing, even if that was the reason why, or one of the reasons why they made the game like that, it's not like that. The fact that that's like the focal point for some people to like play these games is so baffling to me, and it's become like the prime source of misinformativeness. Like, there's so many things that are just wrong about, like, just objectively wrong, just contradicts interviews, contradicts things I've heard from the company that you don't need to hear from the company itself. Because I remember somebody was asking me for, like, or somebody showed me something with, like, their timelines of development on games. It was really off. I gave them more accurate timelines, and they're like, well, I need this is, like, supposed to be insider stuff. It wasn't. It was stuff that you could have done with Google. But, it'd be great if you had that sense of doubt with people who are actually bullshitting you and are giving you weird fucking theories. That'd be great if you took that with a grain of salt. Instead of things that come to light literally months after I fucking say them. That would be great. That would be some smart fucking shit. But, fuck. Like,
you're suffering.
Yeah, like, and and now I'm going on this rant, and I sound like I like the games. I just complimented the games I'm having. Apparently, they have some sort of artistic integrity or some shit, which I would never actually say. But here I am, trying to fucking, trying to keep the value of these games in some way. It's just, oh my god, oh man, I wish I'd never played I wish I had never ever even come to care about it in any way.
It's okay, though. We like your stories.
Agreed.
Yeah.
They're old. There's somebody out there that's sitting there thinking, like, yo, they were going to make Xenogears 2. That's their dream. Expect it. IP is coming back. That's why Nomura worked on Xenoblade 2. They're just slowly rebuilding.
FF7 Remake is the demo for Xenogears 2.
Yeah, man. That's why all the spooky ghosts were there. They're all
This is actually, speaking of Remake, this is a tiny little thing I do hope they throw in. I hope they throw in that little Easter egg in Disc 2 when they get to that part in the remake.
Oh, yeah.
Just as a little teeny tiny hilarious Easter egg for the original. considering both games had that. It would probably cause so many fans to be like, "Oh, look, that's confirmation!" Whereas for me, I'd just be like, "Hey, they remembered they wrote that line in there."
Oh, the Xenogears
Oh
reference.
my god. Don't say that. I thought about that too, and I'm not looking forward to it at all. Hopefully that'll be one of the things that, has everyone here finished Final Fantasy VII Remake? Or Xeno's
I haven't played Xeno
Yeah, I did it.
yet, but I played the original game. But
Well, I mean, hopefully, maybe that'll be one of the changes in Remake. You guys know what I'm talking about. That'll be one of the things that's just changed. That no reference to that, please. Just because this fandom doesn't deserve it. It doesn't deserve a Xenogears reference.
I mean,
oh man.
I mean, we were lucky that they put the Weltall in.
Oh, yep.
I can't remember the name of it. Final Fantasy. What the hell is it called?
The World of
World
Final
of Final
Fantasy.
Fantasy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love how they literally just put in the actual description. Yeah, we did that. We put this in here. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. But God, I just
and you guys know there's a Xenogears reference in Advent Children.
yes,
Advent Children?
yeah.
Yeah.
What's that reference?
There's a bunch of posters for old PlayStation games, and one of them is Xenogears.
Yep.
I'll have to take
I never
more
saw
attention
this.
the next time I watch that.
Wasn't there a Xenogears song in what was that rhythm game? Theatrhythm?
Yeah, I think it was DLC.
So you had to pay for it? I'm not paying.
Thank you. This has been enjoyable. This has been a fun first podcast with you guys.
Oh, this is your first time here?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, this is her first episode.
Yeah, she's been on our server for some time, but it's her first episode. Yeah.
I actually, believe it or not, I actually listened to like a few of your episodes. I actually listened to your Xeno podcast a few
Nice.
times. I actually
Wow.
listened to I think it was the 11th episode. You guys actually mentioned me. You're like, man, I hope Kira doesn't hear this. It's been strange.
Yeah,
Yeah, we constantly do reference of you.
We do reference you at times, yeah.
Oh no.
Those boogeyman.
Oh,
Art.
my God. Yeah, well, now you've heard what I've had to say and how I've had to say it. So you know why I'm not protecting myself from Xeno fans on that server. I'm protecting them from me. Like, it's horrible.
Oh my gosh. Alright.
Man, I'm really sorry about that, guys. And I'm
Nah, that was good.
I'm sorry to the listeners, especially if you enjoy that kind of thing and believing that kind of. I'm sorry if I ruined it for you because I don't want to. I don't want to ruin the games for anybody when I say these things, but you have to. There's a limit to what certain things people can say without being like, listen, like,
Yeah.
like I always think of like, sort of Saga makes these tweets, and obviously her tweets are more about like things about her. She could easily say things about the games if she wants to, but I guess she kind of like stays away from that. There are times where she had the opportunity to. She does like once in a while, like the million sales thing, but that's like a small thing in the big fucking sea of weird shit. She usually just references things that are like really shitty about her. And it's like, it's. I don't see that with other fandoms, really. I don't see fucking Harada coming out saying, like, man, I can't believe this fucking fandom said all this stuff about me. He usually just comes out and says, stop asking me for shit.
Yeah. Right.
Oh god, this has been a week, man. This is a Xeno podcast. That's a tragedy enough for me. Also, all the stuff that's happened this week, like, I don't even know if I should bring it up. It's like totally out of left field, but there's been some stuff going on this week. Yesterday was, and the day before yesterday was like a nightmare for like the fighting game community and Smash Community scene, all that stuff. I was like, wow.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking actually, my head is in such a different place coming into the podcast. I was glad I was actually able to talk about Xeno because my mind was not on Xeno coming into this.
Yeah.
I'm glad you could vent a little bit.
Yeah, it's been fun.
That wasn't the plan. I did warn you, Tyler. I don't know if I want to talk about this. I was thinking about talking about this because I know where it's going to go, and I know I'm going to...
No.
It's a small sliver of that Xenorage is going to come out. And it's just...
I brought this upon myself. I'm okay with it.
No, I brought it upon myself for coming.
Honestly, I think...
Until the next time.
I think we're all okay with it.
Don't worry.
Yeah. Anytime.
And here's a small Xeno memory that we can use to slightly counterbalance. It's something more lighthearted. Because I just figured this out right now. I was on my phone and I went on Facebook. I went on my Facebook memories. Apparently, on this day 8 years ago, I finished the first Xenoblade. I made a status about it.
That's great.
Nice.
Probably a good note to end on.
Yeah. Nice little lighthearted note.
Nice and wholesome, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Tyler, I don't blame you if you edit all of that out.
No.
That whole half
It's all
hour.
gold.
Yeah, it's golden.
Dude, oh no. It's
Just make a separate, make that a separate upload.
don't
Bonus episode.
No. Oh god, dude. And again, I keep saying you just do this quietly. Do it in your little book. Do it in video, and they'll get it right. You just lead by example. Lead by example. Don't just yell at people because then they're gonna be like, whoa, what about this, that, and even then I'm gonna listen back to this and I'm just gonna be like, oh, I forgot to mention this one thing. Now there's a hole in what I said because I forgot to mention this one thing. Now everyone's gonna be like, oh, you got this wrong here. Listen to what you got this wrong. He's wrong. Everything I said is now justified. All this. God, that's. It's so hard to have an honest conversation with them.
It's gonna be okay.
So I like you guys.
Oh.
It's gonna be okay. Someone says something, we're just gonna be... I don't know. Yeah, we should probably start wrapping up.
Yeah, it's getting really shitposty now, as if it wasn't before. I think I got shitposty the moment I brought up the guy that Justin's doppelganger.
That was great. That was hilarious.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was great.
Okay, well, let's go around, and if there's anything you want to share, do so. First, we'll start with you, Justin.
Yeah, I don't really have much going on in my life right now. I wrapped up some projects, and yeah, I guess we do have that XenoChat project coming up. That I don't even know if we're gonna do much with it. It's more of we have an idea. We're gonna do a test run. We're gonna see how it comes out. It'll probably come out terrible, but we're gonna do it anyways.
It's
for fun, first and foremost. And if we like how it comes out, then maybe we'll share it with you guys.
Yeah. All right. How about you, Mary?
Not much. Losing life on video games, and I checked my timer on Animal Crossing again today, and I'm like, how did I play this game for 450 hours? How?
Oh, gosh.
But yeah, mostly been quarantined since end of March, so not much going on. Just staying at home playing video games, pretty much it.
Gotcha. All right, Brielle, is there anything you would like to share?
Not too much. I'm an artist, so I draw a lot. That's all I've really been doing, as you guys see in the server quite often.
Yeah.
Is there any
otherwise,
place...
just say there.
Oh, I was just gonna say, is there any place that people could go to find your art?
See, what is it now? Not that one. Not that one. CB Draws. SEABEE Draws. DRAWS.
Is that
Twitter. That is Twitter,
okay.
sorry.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I'll be sure to put that in the notes for the episode when it comes out.
Hey.
All right, Pure. Besides your book, is there anything else you'd like to share?
my quote book. Yeah, we'll call it that. Man, that adrenaline's wearing down, and starting to hit me. Just all that shit I said. Anyway, just my Twitter, I guess. That's where most people would. It's really the only thing you should be following me on. I don't have to plug in that Xenogears thing I worked on because it came out months ago. Remember I was talking about, like, in the future this will come out. It's out now. It came out forever ago. You probably know about it, right? So my Twitter is @BurningAegis. My bio says unwilling Xeno historian, but I actually don't tweet about Xeno that much. And baseball's coming back, so I'm probably going to tweet a lot more about that than I am about video games in like a month. So I'm very sorry, but you can still follow me @BurningAegis.
Totally fine. I'm not really doing too much. I think this will be the third episode of XenoChat I need to edit. I lost all of my progress in the Cosmos episode last night, so I'm kind of bummed about that.
I was like, oh.
I mean, I still have all the audio files, I just had to start over. And now I'm very paranoid about Audacity files and general, but yeah, that's all I've got really going on right now. Okay. Well, this turned out really good. In the future, I mean, before this, I will finish the Cosmos episode. That should be the next one to come out. After that should be the Queer Theory episode, and then this episode. And we did run a poll about what people wanted us to talk about, and I remember the references between all the Xeno games won, despite what we talked about on this episode. So,
well, there's a right way to talk about it. It's just, God, didn't you guys want me on that one?
I mean,
or something?
if you want to, it would be great if you could like talk about, I don't know, some of the, I don't know, stuff behind the scenes or something about it that is connected in like a more subtle way between the games. But if you don't want to, that's totally fine.
Oh, man. I know I feel really bad about that one, because I'm sure someone is going to walk into that episode and, or somebody there is going to see something, feels bad, man.
Oh.
It feels, being talking about Xeno feels bad.
Don't feel bad.
Don't feel bad, it's okay.
You're still very insightful, and I really like that about your time on this show.
I think it's the first time it's like the first time I've ever talked about Xeno, really, and then get into like weird, like nerdy staff stuff that happened in the game, and directing quirks about the game. I think it's the first time that's ever happened.
Oh yeah, cool. Well, I definitely love you on the episode, but we can talk about that later.
Yep.
But other than that, we have our secret project we're working on, and that's about it. All right. Well, thanks again, all the guests and everybody for coming down tonight to talk about all this. I really had fun with this, so thank you.
Yeah, it was fun.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a really good one, and I can't wait to see when Jin or Tyler finishes editing this.
Oh gosh, yeah, this is almost 3 hours long, so I don't know what's gonna happen with this episode.
It's gonna be a while till this comes out.
Maybe it'll just never come out, Tyler. You can just jump the references one that's never happened. It's a sour little secret.
It'll come out eventually. It'll be a long time.
Yeah.
Alright, well thanks for listening everybody, and have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Alright. Take care, everybody.
Save the game?
Oh, rest in peace, Tyler. Just dropped out a call.
Yeah, he's been having some issues lately.
Yeah.
Oh, it's alright.
It's alright, as long as Adasti keeps recording. It's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You missed
Just
nothing.
put a timestamp there. It was like around the 11-minute mark, I think.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, yeah, you can go on.
Oh, I'm done.
Oh, okay.
I can't. Well,
If you have seen the pilot of Omega Res Novae, please contact security immediately.
this is just for a second, a tiny bit off topic, but man, it's really thundering and raining hard over here. I don't know if it's like that for you, Justin, but
It's actually not. It's pretty okay right now. I'm like looking outside the window. It is a bit cloudy, but so it's probably going to come down near me soon. But
it's pretty bad here. If my power goes out, we're pretty fucked. So.
oh boy,
God.
I wish it was raining here. It's just fireworks going off in the background.
it was really nice the other night when I was playing Xenoblade Definitive Edition. I was streaming it into Discord, and like it was raining outside, and it was actually raining in game too, and that actually felt kind of cool. It was like nice little atmosphere.
That's cool.
That's always so good.
I think it's sunny
No,
Nice
here.
night when you're playing Xeno.
I think it's sunny here, but I'm
This is
more
true.
north.
Yeah, I hope that your electricity doesn't go out.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
It's an omen. It doesn't want him to talk about Xeno.
No!
Yeah, it really doesn't want me to talk about Xeno. It's doing everything it can. I even talked to my friend yesterday in a call, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be on a Xeno podcast tomorrow again. And he's just like, really? He's like, so sorry to hear that. Like, that was like his immediate response. And this is from a guy that doesn't actually care about Xeno, so he just has a totally different point of view. He's just like, oh, so sorry. Like I was going to a funeral or something. I guess.
If you have seen the pilot of Omega Res Novae, please contact security immediately.
Oh, this is maybe a little diverging a little bit, but
Yeah.
And this is more for Tyler and Justin because they're in. Oh well, just Justin because Tyler is here.
I take his back. Maybe.
I'm
Oh
back.
yeah, he's back.
Yeah, he's back.
Good.
Anyways,
If you have seen the pilot of Omega Res Novae, please contact security immediately.
I was looking outside. Looks like that storm's finally coming my way.
Oh, no. Well,
Yeah,
we didn't lose Fury yet, so I think we're good.
Yeah.
yeah, it's really slowed down here. So good luck, Justin.
Pretty much.
You know what I'm gonna do for you two right here. I'm actually right now live on the podcast. I'm gonna give you an invite to my
Oh,
server.
no.
I haven't invited anyone on my server in so long, dude. It's been so long. I'm too lazy to do it lately. Everything in that server is kind of a meme, except for production info. That's the only you're gonna find things of actual substance in that one. But
It's totally cool.
Yeah.
and you're gonna see the avatar and the server name, and you'll be like, "Wow, you're really trying to hide the fact that this is a server." How do you? I don't even know. Is there a way to drop an invite in a group, or is it separate?
I don't know.
You go into your server, you click the server settings, you hit that little drop down menu, invite people, go to copy the link, and then copy the link and post it into the group.
Let's see. I'm going to server settings. Is it invites?
Yep. It is.
All right.
Not the server settings. It's in the first drop down menu where it says invite people.
Also,
Oh, hang on. Let me see if I can find that. Invite people. I see it. Okay, I'm just gonna put in the server. Yeah, and I'm sorry, in the group.
sorry.
All right, I see it.
I love your definitive edition
you like
spoilers.
it? You like my server name?
Yes.
My
Go
server
into
picture?
go into the DE spoilers channel.
Oh no! Don't do
Yes,
it. Don't.
that's the best channel.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, trust me, you're not gonna get spoiled anything. Like, dude, I have a whole thread. They should see my Twitter thread for the Xenoblade DE quote DE Twitter thread from Pure. Oh god.
Oh my god.
All right. I think we should end it here.
Please contact security